That's not fair. The countdown didn't work again. So yeah, really difficult end to the 2022 fantasy season. I really don't know what to say. It's definitely not much I can add. I haven't even seen much discourse. That's what I'd say. I haven't seen much conversation about it online. There's very little updates to what's going on. So yeah, that sucks. We'll go with it whichever direction you guys want to. Commiseration if anyone's feeling sad or needs to talk it through, feel free. And we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll just talk about Dynasty, the upcoming season, or how this season went, however you need. My name is Peter Howard, at PA Howdy on Twitter. This is a live stream where we talk about Dynasty, called the Dynasty Grind, every Wednesday at 9:30. Off-season, on-season, in-season, any kind of season you care to mention. Drop any questions or comments or thoughts you have in the comment box, whatever streaming platform you're listening to. If you're watching from the DLF feed, hey, hey, how you doing? Or mine, you're the best. You're the best people, obviously. And yeah, let's get into it. Russ, Dynasty Outhouse, can't make it with us tonight. He, I can't remember what he said. I think he's got a migraine. He just can't look at a screen for multiple hours tonight. But Zach Reed from the Dynasty Dummies is, as always, with us. And we're happy to have you. So thanks very much for showing up. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you all won championships. And let's talk about Dynasty, I guess. That was really weird, Zach. I went to do the tweet. Like every week we go live and I share it because it pops up. Somehow I linked it to my Twitter. And so every time we go live, it tells Twitter, hey, these idiots are live again. And that's nice. And I share it, even though it posts on my timeline. It's weird. But like I usually say live and alive because I have no originality. And even that felt a little weird and wrong to say this week. So I changed it. I that's probably just me thinking too hard about it. But that, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think everyone's kind of processing at this point, Peter. So
I guess
I'm a you do you guy, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So
no right or wrong. But yeah, geez. How you doing? Did you win many? I won none. I knew that weeks ago though. So I've been checking out.
No, so the only championship I was in. So I have 5 dynasty leagues. I finished third in 4 of them. Got bounced in the first round of the playoffs in 3 of the 4. Made it to the championship in my home league against Kyle. Yes, that Kyle of the Dynasty Dummies fame.
I know that guy.
And I got my doors blown off by Kyle. And so I finished second.
I think I read about that.
But it was the team I was tanking with. And so I finished second, but got the 102. So I accomplished my goal, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, so you got to have goals, Peter.
It's weird. Always weird this time of year because the DM threads and the play chats that have been dead for a while now because there's only 3 people interested light up with information. What's happening? What are we doing? This is what we're doing. And I'm like, I like to bother John Bosch in the leagues where he's commissioner. Like every time something happens, I ask him to explain it because it's not normally really complicated. And it really frustrates him, and he normally just sends me a link direct to the league. But the thing is, I know his rules really because I'm a nerd. I do study the league charter, as it were. I know what it is, except for the payout section. It's for some reason it's like I don't really know what's going on, and I normally just say like, yeah, whatever you guys think's best. It should be the most important part, but I'm like, I'm never gonna get a reclaim fantasy. Yeah. I'm really here for the seasons. But anyway, I can't get this this music that I play in the background, the one I've settled on that I just always use now because I'm lazy. It's called Into Space, and it doesn't sound like I'm going to space for a start. Like this is a lie. And also, I can never seem to get the volume right. It's either too loud or too quiet. So someone let me know if it's drowning us out or if you're going to let's see what people are doing. Drew Branley in here at 650. Jesus, Drew. Thank you. Making me look bad. Would you trade Deshaun Watson, the 111, the 109 for Justin Jefferson, Josh Allen, or Mahomes?
Yes.
Yes.
All of them.
Yes. Which package would you prefer? Would you prefer Mahomes or Allen?
I mean, obviously, this is a super flex. I'd probably go Allen, then Mahomes, and like I know that having Justin Jefferson in there seems like a little bit of a hot take. Justin Jefferson finished. If you let Burrow have like a week this week instead of what happened, as like maybe 5 overall. So like there are 3.5 quarterbacks ahead of him in Eckler, so 5 or 6. So having Justin Jefferson in that category, in that conversation with the quarterbacks, is not really a hot take, Drew. And so, yes, I would do any of those.
I read that differently. I read this as a really unfair trade. You should accept either way, Justin Jefferson or one of those quarterbacks. But if it's one of the three, I would still say yes.
Well, that's it. That's what I thought. It's one of those three. So it's Deshaun Watson plus those 2 picks for one of those certified bona fide studs. And
I think I take Mahomes. Josh Allen's going to remain my quarterback 1. I think I'm one of now 2 out of the 7 Superflex rankers who have Josh Allen 1. And that's why. It's not because I wouldn't personally prefer to roster Josh Allen. It's because I think more people will prefer to roster Mahomes in Dynasty.
Yep.
But this is very much an in-your-league thing. I think you probably should take Josh Allen, but if you're playing in a lot of degenerates leagues, like with our rankers, they are scared of his rushing. And that's honestly the reason they have Mahomes over him quite often. So you kind of got to play it by ear. But I would take a quarterback rather than Justin Jefferson. But it is fair. If you want Jefferson, this is a good way of getting it.
Now, would you do that same thing for Herbert, or is he not in that category with the category of player that you would trade Watson and 2 late firsts for?
I would do it for Herbert because I think I'm much lower on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and what about Hurts? Would you? Because he asked, who else would you do this for? So,
like, that's the thing. This is a walk-off win to me. I'm like, yep, pick my favorite, take it.
Right.
If you go down, I have to think about it a bit more. I'd probably do it for Herbert. Probably do it for Hurts.
Yeah.
Probably do it for
Chase,
Burrow, Chase. Yeah, you can go to the wide receiver.
Yeah, so like those are the. I think you have to, Drew, in your heart of hearts, figure out what a tier up is from Deshaun Watson and paying those 2 late firsts to get to that next tier, whether it be a wide receiver or whether it be one of those top 4 or 5 quarterbacks. That's, to me, that's worth it.
Yeah. And to clear what I was saying is that's I'm looking at my top tiers there. Yeah. All of those guys, but Herbert's in a lower tier for me than these 3 players. So I think I'm lower on Deshaun Watson. So I'd even go down. But you don't have to, clearly, because you've already got 3 of the top. I think most people would have these players. Like, you can already make your pick.
Yep.
The only thing I'd say is I wouldn't do it for a running back unless I'm getting another first back or drop one on the first, maybe. Just because of the time of season it is. And if I were going to, I would target Breece Hall over the ones who did better this year for the various things we've talked about this year, value cycles. And I think you can get more added to him.
And in 3 months, the running back 1 is going to be the rookie 101. Like the running back 1 is going to be Bijan Robinson. Whether that's right or wrong, that's going to be what happens in Dynasty. I'm pretty sure we're going to run that right up.
RB1 for the 101. If you want an alternative, if instead of a player, if you just find the player with the 101, because that's known now, I'd trade it for that. I'd be pretty comfortable with that. But thanks, Drew. Good question. Because it was fun and fairly simple to answer for me. So I like those. Scotty McCoy, also in here at like 10 to 9. Geez, thanks, Scotty. I don't know why. Well, I know why I say thank you. I really appreciate you all hanging out with us and asking questions and stuff. But it's not like asking them before 9:30 is better. It's just I kind of appreciate you sort us out, if you know what I mean. But anyway, Scotty, 12-team 1 QB. No tight end premium. Start 8. Wanting to move Kelsey for Trevor Lawrence. Amon-Ra St. Brown. My current QB is Dak. Good. Keep him right now. That's a guy you just keep right now. Or I have an offer of Henry and DeAndre Hopkins for Kelsey. And no to the second. Not because it's not fair. It's because their value's going to be muted for the next 3 months. And so, like, you're you're trading down technically in value. This next season, I think they can both score points again, and you'll be pretty happy with that. But we don't know what the off season brings,
Right.
and there's no reason to do it. And Kelsey's a better asset in value, and is also going to score points again next year. I like the idea of going for Trevor Lawrence and Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's the one that catches my attention. It's never time for me when you hit that top tier, the one we were just talking about, the Mahomes, Allen. I don't think there's timing on those. There's just value. Like, are you going to give me all the value and I need it? Cool. Because it's not just a perpetual trade them when they're good. There's that top tier of players. Just I'm keeping them unless I really need to rebuild my roster. Then no. And Kelsey's in that, and I think he's going to do it again next year because you're only as old as the team you play for. That's what I like to think. So I'm not as concerned about it as some might be. So, but if your team is at all not quite there, it's not a bad time. If you're getting a young quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, finally a top 12 guy, future only looks brighter. Kevin Ridley's are coming. Or Amon-Ra St. Brown, a little discounted top wide receiver for me, then I think it's a pretty decent trade. So it's really about what your team situation is.
The thing I will say, Peter, is in a one quarterback league where Scott's already got Dak, I don't know that adding Trevor Lawrence gives you that much more value over what you've got with Dak. And if you're giving up Kelsey, so I think we think about positional advantages sometimes and positional scarcity wrong, because positional advantage is the number of players at the top of a position that are giving you value over everybody else. And Kelsey does that. And there aren't very many players who do that the way Kelsey does. And so even in a non-tight end premium, you're still getting that advantage. And I know you look at Kelsey in a non-tight end premium and you're like, well, he doesn't score, more than, one of the top receivers, or he doesn't score more than one of the running backs. But if you look at what he's scoring compared to a tight end, if you have to start a tight end, Kelsey is giving you that advantage, Scott. So I want to get more than Trevor Lawrence and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like getting Amon-Ra St. Brown back, absolutely. But I think that targeting that quarterback, they tend to be there's a weird kicker with non-Superflex leagues with start one quarterback where the top tier quarterbacks are undervalued and the rest of the quarterbacks are overvalued. Yeah. Because if you don't have Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or that top tier, none of those other quarterbacks really give you much of an advantage. And so I would want Amon-Ra St. Brown and another positional player to one-to-one.
Yeah, I was going to say the one quarterback thing is a good point. Like that makes Trevor Lawrence less interesting. You have Dak. CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Waddle are the only other ones I'd put in that value tier. Outside of that, you go into JJ Chase. So.
Yeah, and the other thing is the start 8, because it's start 8. That's not a lot of players, man. So if one of your 8 is Travis Kelce, who's scoring 6 or 7 points more a week than whoever the other guy is starting, you're winning. The Henry and DeAndre Hopkins is going to be 31 next year. Derrick Henry is already old for a running back. So even though, Peter, I agree with you that they will score, you're never going to recoup value.
No, they're points at this. We'll buy them this offseason when everyone's like, oh, they're old and they won't do well next year because they're old. And we're like, okay, sure, buddy. And here's a second.
Yep, and I bought them both. Like those two were my Henry, Hopkins, Eckler, and Devontae Adams were my targets this year. And
good targets.
Cap tip to you, because you were beating that drum all preseason about how this season was going to be back to the old guard. So.
Yeah, but no one cares about what I get right.
I do. I listen.
I was going to say, I wish I'd beaten the drum for Keenan Allen more, because it was the same thing, but he was hampered early and a lot this season. So I kind of I let myself quietly take I'll go with consent. And he was great to have during this playoffs. He would have been a great guy, like Kittle. You were highlighting Kittle. We could have highlighted Keenan Allen.
Yep.
Kind of felt like I dropped the ball on that one. Highlighted MT a lot, and I still think that's going to somewhat pay off come next year, but we'll have to see.
Yep.
That was an aside, Scotty. Don't trade that player for all of those players. That's an aside. 12 team, same league. No, start 9 in this one. Wide receivers are Lamb, Waddle, AJ. So you're good. You're good. What other young wide receiver would you target out of Amon-Ra, St. Brown, London, Pittman?
St. Brown.
If you can move, I'm actually kind of interested in trading London, but it's like there's no reason for it. He's probably pretty good and going to be pretty good. It's Pittman. If you can find someone to accurately value Pittman, don't get mad at me because I have him in a tier of players you would like. But I don't think we're going to see that top 12. We saw him have that stretches of top 12 upside, but not he can put up a Chase end of the season or a Waddle season or like he's not quite that. And I think that's okay. That's the DJ Moore category. It's a really good player. Yep. But if you like, that's the only player I see on your team that I'm more interested in the value versus the point, especially since your wide receiver is already so strong.
And I read this a little differently.
I'm kind of thinking Pittman Godwin to go get.
I read what other wide receivers do you want to go get? So like, do you want to go get St. Brown? Do you want to go get London? Yeah. So St. Brown definitely. You know the wide receiver, the young wide receiver who is being horrendously undervalued right now, and maybe he won't be going forward, but is currently wide receiver 28 in DLF's latest Superflex ADP. Is Devontae Smith. Like he has been come up, he has been amazing the last 4 weeks of the season. He's come into his own. Like this is
wow.
Yeah, like this is a thing.
No, I'm not gonna. Highlighted him a lot.
Yeah,
I highlighted him a lot this offseason. I was like, you're all crazy.
Absolutely.
He's not too skinny.
No.
Amon-Ra St. Brown helps him. Like St. Brown helps him.
Yeah.
Whatever, Chucky. I don't know why.
So that's my Devontae Smith is one of the young players that I'm. No, go for it.
I think that's great. No, I was just going to highlight. Like, I'm kind of distracted. I always am. I get it, but I've actually gotten into looking at something that I think is really interesting. It might be some of the most interesting stuff I've looked at in a while since I was first getting to grip with like vacated targets. It's been a while since I really found something to get my teeth in. And a lot of people really have strong opinions on it yet, and I don't, but it is really interesting. And I'm kind of writing it up next week. I did a lot of my like background research for it this week, and I put it in the DLF, and I'll put it on Patreon, I already have, to try and understand what's going on and then see if there are takeaways next week. And that's where I'm going to come to players that might be undervalued because of underlining sets people might be misreading a little bit. And that's the difference between route rate, route per team route. There's all these stats that keep getting referred to as the same stat. And I think it's like when anything else is new or just starting to get looked at by the more popular nerds, and then I get wind of it. I'm like, that's interesting. Vacated targets, you say. And I think there's a lot of not bad. I don't think they're wrong. I think they might all be referring sometimes to different stats, but it's anyway.
When you're doing like yards per team pass attempt and yards per route run and that. Like
Yeah. Too many acronyms, but those are things I made that no one remembers I made, and now they're just common stats that people have like literally made websites, and that's the signature stat. And I'm not mentioned, but whatever. Yards per team attempt was certainly not me. Anyway. I didn't make it. I've made it a little bit more popular, I think. JJ Zacharyson, I think, is the first one I ever heard mention it as a potential stat he looked at for rookies, and I kind of ran with it really far. But what I can tell you where I'm at right now is I think if a player didn't get a lot of routes per team route, there's probably an acronym out there for something like that, but that's what the formula is. Players' routes per game by the team's routes per game. So percentage of routes ran, or they have a low route rate as PFF calculates it, you're in trouble if they didn't get the target share you need. Like if they're at 16, 17, 80%, like if they don't already have 20% target share, because they actually tend to decrease the next year. And that's in general, but especially from year 1 to year 2. So if you're looking at a young player that has a low target share, that can be fine. Like that 14% target share, we still get some hits from that.
Right.
And that relates to like Jahan Dotson, who I'm making a hit video on how I hate him because I'm trying to get views. But I think the problem isn't that he has a low target share. That's treating numbers as magical. What's more interesting is his possession of routes this year was not as dominant as someone like even Treylon Burks or the players we already know who are good. So if they have a below average target share and you need it to grow, but they were already getting on the field a lot, it's a simpler equation.
Yeah.
Then you have a problem. They can't.
So they're on the field but not earning the targets.
No, that's why it keeps getting messed in my head, and I'm being tentative here, because their target per route, so how well they earn targets per route, right?
Yeah, that
can increase a lot. This is the George Pickens argument. Like it can go up a lot. This is too much, and I'm not ready. But it seems to be controlled for the amount of time they're on the field, even though snaps and route rate don't account for it, because I think they're calculating that by pass plays. So it gets weird. So yeah, it's a little odd. What I can say is there's also this secondary thing where if a player like Gabe Davis and Chase Claypool, this is the example I looked at to try and illustrate what my weak brain is trying to wrap its head around. My brain is trying to wrap its head around. Both of them had that problem. They had pretty decent target shares, but they were on the field a lot. So, like, they have to, and in fact, players tend to regress in that. So, expecting them to get higher target shares in year 2 was less likely. CeeDee Lamb had a similar problem, but there we get into different sets. But in their second season, Chase Claypool earned targets, the one you're talking about, less targets per route.
Right.
But Gabe Davis earned more targets per route, but still didn't escalate in target share. And then we get into this year where he does. So it's a level thing. Like if they've got that problem, they're probably not going to do it next year. But if they then earn more targets per route, the following year they can actually do better, because it's obviously not just year 2 players who do better than they've done before.
Right.
And so I think that might be a positive thing. And I haven't looked into this year's class a lot, but that's got me concerned on Elijah Moore, because he had that problem, even though I liked him because I wasn't looking at that stuff last year. But this year he was earning less targets per route as I've looked at it, which is the opposite of Gabe Davis and more like Chase Claypool. And I've traded for him a lot, by the way. So like I might have made a mistake. But I think the context, like that's a really specific, like that season, we know why that was happening, right?
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail this show, but I'm really, like it's all that's on my head right now. But like next week, I'll have a better idea of young players I'm looking at. Ones I know for sure, I think Treylon Burks is the guy I'm willing to take a shot on. And then you've got Olave, Wilson, Drake London.
But you're paying up for those guys. I mean, like Wilson is wide receiver 10 right now in Dynasty. Like, welcome.
And if you're looking for discount players, Devontae Smith's great. In my head, I assume he's already valued more than that ADP suggests, but maybe not. Try it.
It should be. Yep.
Players I definitely think you're getting a discount on because there's more risk. They might fail out. They're not looking like common players. Rondell Moore.
Yeah.
Like this season, despite the injuries seeming to be a problem again, I really think it was kind of happening. You know what I mean? And so I'm still kind of in on Rondell Moore. Rashad Bateman, I guarantee you his value's finally dropped. It's not like I predicted it a year and a half ago or not. Well, at least, about a year and a half ago now. Is there anyone else? But there you're looking for less than a first. So
Right.
not the tier of players you're targeting here. But so and that's the thing. I want to go up and get the ones I'm full on set, or I want to look for the ones that people might be undervaluing.
Right.
And it's not always the best move. If you're just looking for a safe wide receiver, the ones I've noticed around the Jahan Dotson tier, the exciting rookie tier with Pickens actually, are like DJ Moore's in that range now. It seems pretty low. That's a lot lower than Pittman, which is the only reason I said that about Pittman. Brandon Ayuk.
Yes. Yep.
Actually lower than Devontae Smith. And who's the other guy I saw down there? It was
Deontay Johnson's right there next to.
Deontay
Ayuk.
Johnson's a good one. I just listed these for my videos. I'm trying to remember. But there was another guy, Marcus Brown. It's always Marcus Brown. Why would I forget that one? And that's if you just want to go across. There's a lot more safety. You know what you're getting,
Right.
and people are okay. They're not like, oh no, I gotta keep my DJ Moore. People are kind of coming to terms with his lack of touchdowns at this point, I guess. But yeah, if you're going across, I think I like those plays. Jeffrey Jacobs. I've got an owner trying to move Fields. He likes Christian Watson. I definitely trade Christian Watson. Pickens, I'm a little more interested. Some of the stuff I've just been looking at. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers. He wants a combo of picks and players. He's got these picks and players. What's a fair starting offer? So let me see. You're trying to get Fields. Basically, it's a 1 QB league though, and you've already got Josh Allen.
Is it a one? No, this is a 12-team Superflex PPR 1.5 tight end premium. The next one.
Oh, sorry.
So
my bad.
So I gotta be honest. I would trade Watson and Pickens to get Fields. I would trade Watson and Rodgers to get Fields. I would trade Watson and your 24 first. Whatever it is, like Fields is.
Yeah, I try and hold on to Pickens. Everything else, I'm pretty happy with moving for Fields at this point in any decent package. So if you want to put Rodgers with Watson, I think that's strong. You're offering a good older quarterback and a young, promising wide receiver. That might tempt someone, but you said he wanted picks as well. So you throw a second in there, that's overpaying, but who cares? You know what I mean? I like that. I would try and keep first as a general rule, obviously, but I'm not scared to trade them. Right. In fact, I trade them too often, to be clear. That would probably be my first. Rodgers, Christian Watson, and like the 209 this year feels like a really strong offer. In a super flex, like you said. Is that too little?
I think it probably ends up being too little, but it depends on what he thinks of Watson. I'm still on the Watson is, and that may be tempting because of the stack too, because some people dig on that stack with Watson and Rodgers. I'm still on the train of Watson reminds me more of Gabe Davis than he does of, name your X wide receiver that you want. I mean, whoever's the tier down from Calvin Johnson. Like, I like Watson. I like what he does, but I think a lot of what he does relies on touchdown and touchdown efficiency, and that's tough for me to bet on.
Yeah, and again, he's just one of those players that didn't get a large percentage of his team's routes. We know this. He was touchdown dependent. It's like Chase Claypool. And so there's at least a year separation from him increasing in volume is my rough guess at where I'm at in that research right now. But yeah, he got like 13% of the team's routes per game. He did get a pretty good route rate, 96%. So again, I'm conflicted on which one I'd rather use on that. But expecting a big increase in his target share, he's going to still have to be touchdown dependent, which he could do with Rodgers, or he's not going to do as well as some people might think he did.
Right. And he's got, like, again, this is not a knock on Christian Watson, but this was kind of my initial assessment of Christian Watson hasn't changed. Like, the things he does well, he does very well. But the problem is the things he does well score points in bunches based on scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. And from what I'm looking at right now, he has to stay that.
Yeah.
Or he'll fall back. And this is like my Jahan Dotson thing that I'm trying to upload, but it takes forever, guys. It's not like I hate Jahan Dotson. I want to value what he did down the stretch here. He didn't have less than 20% target share since week 12 or something. Like, let's give the kid living his dream some credit. He actually did well. Beat David Bell, what do I know? But I'm just willing to sell at that value. If not, hell, if my league's like, nah, Dotson's bad, I mean, I'll take the ride. But if I can move across to a Brandon Ayuk all day, every day, and that's where I'm at with Watson. Like, he's really high valued, and I'm just a little skeptical that he can increase his target share to maintain points without those touchdowns. And that means I'd rather move out. He's a young, good rookie, so I get value for him, then yeah, I'm all in. Jeffrey Jacobs, 12. Did we answer that? We probably
Same
did.
thing. Yep.
Yeah, that was your
and then Jeff's talking to Scott.
I'm really off the rails now. You got me all in my head with your questions. Hey guys, I'm trying to grab Purdy. Okay. As a backup in my 12-team Superflex, what would be a good offer? I'm trying to give a late 23 second.
I think that's a good offer. A second and Fournette.
Seconds are really, and Fournette's a really good offer. I was offered Purdy for like a third in one of my leagues. My first reaction was, too late, buddy. Like, his points for this season at a cheap value. You can't wait till the and so this seems pretty strong to me. Yeah. I'm probably underrating Purdy a little bit. He did well. And this is a strong offer. Yeah.
Like it could end up being a fantastic move. Like, but if San Francisco decides that Purdy is the guy that they want to move forward with, then that's a tremendous move. He was great to the end of the season. The weird thing is, kind of the ironic thing is, it reminds me a little bit of Jimmy Garoppolo when Garoppolo came in for Brady when Brady was suspended and Garoppolo did great, and then they went right back to Brady. The thing with San Francisco is they don't have a Brady. So
sorry, that someone's trying to offer me Billy's app, different guy. But yeah, this is a really strong offer, and you're not giving up too much in my opinion. You've got a decent shot at upside, or at least you've got another quarterback to stick on your bench.
Yep.
And those guys come up again. Gardner Minshew came up as a startable player during the playoffs this year. That's probably rock bottom floor for that kind of guy, or he just becomes Teddy Bridgewater. But I mean, it's fair, yeah. And also you're getting at a Fournette with some potential for upside at a really late stage for running back. So, what do you think about? I said Mike Thomas earlier. Look at that, and we said Calvin Ridley earlier. We answered your question before we got here. I really like them as value adds. I wrote Calvin Ridley up specifically last week because the minute in the offseason, which I guess it is now, but it might take a second. Yeah. We're going to rank him as a top 24 wide receiver in Dynasty. Like, he's Calvin Ridley. If he's back,
wide receiver 65 right now in DLF ADP.
Because there's so much up in the air. But even... And again, the things I wrote up is he's got 1 year left on his contract. He still has to apply, I believe, to be reinstated, which he has not done yet. But he's not actually eligible to apply yet. And there's that tweet from back in October, I think it was, where he said he was stepping away, no specific from football or from this situation, for his mental health. And we've got no idea if that's still a thing. So there's a lot up in the air. But here's the thing. Even before we know those things, Dynasty rankers are going to notice. Like, I think we're going to move him up before we know those answers. But because it's still this season, we haven't yet. And so I think Calvin Ridley's was and is a really decent ad, like to throw a late second or less and a good player at. And because Jacksonville Jaguars don't have it yet. They've got some good wide receivers. They did well this year. The team did great this year from a fantasy perspective. And a lot better than they did last year. Again, things are looking up. But like Calvin Ridley is like a different kind of animal than what we've seen with Lawrence so far. And the way I put it in the article, because I didn't want to waste a lot of time proving Calvin Ridley was good. This year, all the receiving options are having like a career year. This is the best they've ever done. None of their stats rate close to the average of a top 12 wide receiver, but some of them are pretty good. They're having a good year compared to most players. Calvin Ridley's average in yards per route run or target per route run or anything you want to look at is better, is ranked his average through his career from his rookie year to when he got banned, is already above their best career year. Like that to me seemed like the clearest way of illustrating he's better. And Trevor Lawrence can definitely use a weapon like him. Speaking of which, so I like taking these players, like late second round picks. This goes back to you have to offer people things they want. They might be interested in the second round pick, but it's still just a second round pick. So look at their roster, see if there's anything else you can add to it that doesn't really matter to you that might tempt him. A backup running back for their running back, a quarterback to back up their quarterback if it's Superflex. Try and make it tempting because a generic second isn't tempting to everyone, but that's the kind of value range I'm thinking of. I want to ask you, sorry, chat. I was doing a reply bait tweet basically, and I want to apologize for that. I don't do those. I know they're a great way of growing followers and stuff, but it's never really been my goal. But my timeline, I don't know about yours, and I don't know if this is what's everything. It sucks. I like just scrolling my timeline, finding people I've never spoken to before or barely spoken to before who say interesting things or things I really disagree with or really agree with, and getting into conversations with them. Sometimes argumentatively, but whatever's fun. My timeline is now just promotional tweet after promotional tweet.
Yeah.
I've started following John Bosch's recommendation of literally blocking everyone that recommends a tweet, and it's clearing it up a little bit. But like, I'm thirsty for people to talk Dynasty to, because I've just got like, I work for the NFL, and have you thought about buying my draft guide? Like, I don't. I would go visit. Like, this isn't where I come for that. Okay, go away. I just want another random person like me to talk Dynasty with. So I reply baited to get some of those, and it worked. And I got into a really interesting conversation with a tape grinder who said Garrett Wilson's film isn't what everyone says it is. And I wanted to ask you about it. And I can't quote what he said was wrong with it, but you can look at the thread, I guess. I told him, I can't, what you're seeing is what you're seeing. I can't debate it. But he felt like his ability to earn time, he could be co-opted by a better wide receiver, like a Chase over a Higgins kind of a thing. And that would push him back. And the only thing I could give him was that wouldn't push him into like oblivion. That doesn't happen. A good wide receiver would probably, and so we got into that conversation. But like, I would have to look it up. I really want you to look at it and tell me what he's seeing or what's different. Not because I'd understand it, just because I'd be interested. Basically, he was saying he's just weaker at the catch point, I think, is his overall point, but I don't want to misquote him. Is he?
So here's the thing I think people fall into traps with is they're looking for Calvin Johnson. They're looking for X receivers, go up and get it. And that's not necessarily what wins at the NFL. Now that can win in the NFL. I mean, I think Jamar Chase is a really good example of being able to do that, but also being able to separate. I think Higgins is a great example of a guy who can go up and get it. But I think you can also be Cooper Kupp. I think you can also be Garrett Wilson. I think you can create separation and make plays with your legs after the catch and do that sort of thing. So and we've talked about this. I bought in on Garrett Wilson before the draft. Bought in on Garrett Wilson and continue to buy in on Garrett Wilson.
And again, I felt like it was something like that, but again, where I'm not a tape, I don't know what's happening on film. I was basically, is this like a Jarvis Landry isn't a wide receiver? Because I know what to do with that. I'm like, oh, he's small, so you don't like him. And I just looked it up. He said doesn't win contested catches, mistakes on routes, and no separation.
Stop watching the games he's playing with Zach Wilson, because Zach Wilson is terrible. Like that, like literally go watch go look up the games that he played with quarterbacks that weren't Zach Wilson. Like, but anyway, I
so
digress,
you think it's a quarterback wasn't leading him, right? Thing. Okay, I'm not saying I don't know, but it's interesting.
Okay, so my scouting report on Zach Wilson is, he's gonna make some throws that make you say wow, but then he's gonna make some throws that make you say wow. And the thing that he does not do well is get the ball in positions where his receiver can do something after the catch. Well, that's part of what Garrett Wilson does well, is make plays after the catch. So if you're not getting the ball in stride where it needs to be, all of a sudden you negate one of his best assets. It was like when Jarvis Landry went and played with Baker Mayfield. Like all of a sudden Jarvis Landry wasn't great and he wasn't getting the yards after the catch. Well, part of that's on Baker. So
yeah. And again, and if anyone's willing to be friendly, like he's not a big account or nothing, so no hate. I really enjoyed talking with him, even for a guy who's trying to talk tape. And my answer was, I don't care what you see. I'm not going to counter that. Had a remarkably fun conversation. Tyler Menting at Football on Luck. I had a great conversation with him, and that's what he saw about Zach Wilson, which Zach disagrees with. And again, from the way I go, like Wilson looks solid and looks good. I don't see like his target share is great. Don't have to worry about him growing target share at all. So I wasn't concerned with it, but I like to hear perspectives, so I just wanted to hear yours. Appreciate it. Tyler Reeves, looking to move off of a running back. Jacobs, Pierce, Ramondre, Dobbins.
Pierce.
Would you move and for what?
Pierce. I mean,
yeah, the answer here is for what? Because they're running backs, so I will trade them. Over the last few weeks, I've been willing to trade running backs. My team wasn't like running for the final. But yeah, Pierce is the one who's already got the lowest value, I think, right now. Ramondre is the biggest question mark I have for myself because
I don't think Pierce has the lowest value.
He doesn't?
No. I think people are still on the PFF Pierce train, and
Pearson.
Like I think he's like still a top 20 dynasty running back, even with the struggles he had at the end of the year. And so, like, if I can get Devontae Smith, if I can get DJ Moore, it's all those guys we just talked about. DJ Moore, if I can get Ayuk, if I can get, any of that, even I would even be willing to go and get Jameson Williams for Pierce, because I think when Jameson Williams comes back on the field, there's going to be enough people in my leagues that are going to be excited about Jameson Williams that I can go turn around and trade him for more than what I could get for Pierce. And so he's the easy player for me, because Jacobs, I think his value is in his points. Dobbins, his value is probably in his points, unless you've got a league with Russ. I mean, if you've got Dynasty Outhouse in your league, you can probably get good value with Dobbins. Ramondre Stevenson is kind of the weird one, where he just finished as like the running back, 7 or 8 overall.
And he's a New England running back. But like, I don't like, that's true, but it's but he's really good.
Well, so, and I don't think you're going to get the price for Ramondre Stevenson because of what you just said. He's a New England running back, and people have that little. So I think it's Pierce, and I think you ought to be able to get one of those really interesting young wide receivers. You might like even Terry McLaurin, who's a little bit older,
like a Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, any of those guys. Like I really think that's the move that I'm making is if I can move off Pierce and get one of those wide receivers that I'm interested in, that's what I'm going to do.
And this brings us Tyler's second part of the question is the good part. Like, what would you trade him for? That's the question. Never just ask, Tyler. That's the right. Make sure you always say, but for what? Yeah. Because otherwise we get out real easy. And I would say. Yeah, I'm gonna say this is something I would try. This don't go running for a first round pick. I know that's the thing, like trade him for a first, but we talk about that as a generic value. Sorry, a generic value in most leagues, not exactly a first round pick. If I've got running backs like this and I'm trying to trade them, because I am, the type of trade I will try and go and get is for what Zach was just saying. I'm gonna go target wide receivers I like. Now, because they're running backs with different value issues. Now, if Pierce doesn't, just go up, try and get one of those good wide receivers we're talking about, even if you have to add a first. But where running backs, especially this time of year, sometimes have Ramondre's on New England and Dobbins has been hurt and Pierce was a fourth round. Sometimes they have questions. Jacobs is old. What I'm trying to do is switch over to the wide receiver position. So I'm specifically seeking out what the wide receivers we've named: Bateman, Rondell Moore, Devontae Smith for sure. Who else do we mention? DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, those type of running backs. And if you want to get really lucky, trade for a second with them. If they like that running back, that's a pretty decent trade. And if you could just go chasing that first round pick, you could end up with like the 109, and there are misses even in a strong class. And that means that a year later, you're like, you're the idiot who traded a good running back for a bust rookie. And that's how I think that's the biggest way to mess up trading running backs. Instead, go for a solid wide receiver that you think maybe other people underrate a bit. And that mystery that maybe a boat in the second round, especially in a good class, like that could be your actual upside, if you know what I mean. And so I like that kind of trade. And I mean, you're not going to get that exactly that, but that's the way my mind works anyway.
That's the same with any of those running backs too, Tyler. Like talk to your league mates, figure out who's excited about which running backs, and see if you can work out a deal for young wide receivers. If you can land an Olave, an Amon-Ra St. Brown, a Garrett Wilson, if you can throw like a Jacobs in a second, or Ramondre in a second, or Pierce in a second, to get up to that, absolutely. If you can't, that next tier down, there are some really exciting guys. So that's what I usually try to do is flip running backs for young, what I consider proven wide receivers.
I love this next question. He's like, just talk about the thing I want to hear about. Stefan's like, just
talk amongst yourself.
Riff about Ken Walker. I'm glad to, and I really appreciate this type of question because I'm not the strongest trader. I can tell you what I can do. We don't have Russ. Zach's pretty good at it. But like, yeah, welcome to my home ground. I don't want to say Ken Walker is who he said he was, but he kind of was. But that also means I could lean in a confirmation bias. So let me tell you what I know. And if I'm wrong, and I can be wrong, but this is what I think I know for sure. Ken Walker's a really good running back on the exact right team who love him because he's that exact type running back, and they're gonna keep using him. Like, don't be afraid of Ken Walker. Based on the keep, trade, cut, and dynasty values I've seen, he is way overvalued. Hate me all you want. I think everyone overvalues him. I think they've got him in the JT, the Breece Hall, if not above both those players, because he's young and so fun to watch. His elusiveness rating on PFF right now is like astonishing. His yards after, he's a great running back, and he can catch passes. He just probably won't develop as a great pass catch, and that's fine. Again, remember the first thing I said that I know for sure. So those are the things I know. He's great. He's not going to develop a large receiving work, although he's fine. He's capable. He will catch the ball sometimes, and he's in the exact right situation for himself. He's young, and he's overvalued. Those are the things I'm pretty confident in. Can be wrong, but that's what I'm taking to the bank. Which means, yeah, I'd trade Ken Walker, but I would trade all running backs. But I'm aiming for a much higher tier because I think everyone thinks he's a much higher tier. Like, he's top 12 running back. Joe Mixon's been a top 12 running back like 4 times at this point, but he's never been. Yeah. And not that those two players compare. He's never been Saquon Barkley or CMC. He's been great. He's been that through stretches. And that's what I think Ken Walker is.
So yeah, I mean, Ken Walker is really the
3.7, by the way, yards after contact per attempt, which is I think that's the top score, if not one of the top scores this year on average. Just throwing that. Oh no, it's not. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Karen.
No, he's the next iteration of Nick Chubb, where everybody wants Nick Chubb to be in that Saquon, CMC, whatever tier, and he's not.
Notice again, we'll gladly say Chubb's got the talent.
Oh, he's fantastic. And like, like Walker right now is running back 3 on DLF's latest ADP, which is too high. That's too high.
That was way too high for any point in the season. By the way, when Travis Etienne became a top 5 dynasty wide receiver, and I was like, oh, I'm selling for that, easy. And Twitter ganged together in a mob to tell me what a hateful idiot. And this nerd's I got bullied by nerds. You know what? That makes me not great. And then he faded out the top 5, and literally all of them just fell silent about how much they love Travis Etienne. And then he has a good stretch during the playoffs, which I called in my damn regression series and on this podcast. And everyone's like, see, I told you. I'm like, get out of here. Get him right once, and maybe you can talk. But yeah. That was always too high. It was always too high for Travis Etienne. He just doesn't have that ceiling, and it's always too high for Ken Walker. They're good. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, a good running back, a great runner of the football, but still, like, I think his ceiling is like between 8 and 12 or so. And that's, again, not a player that I don't want on my team, but if I can get a better player. That, you know, if I can turn around and trade him for Breece Hall plus, I'm going to do that, which you might be able to at this point.
You were there, and I think John Bosch was part of the panel when we went to the Expo, and someone was talking about running backs he just thinks of as starts. Can you remember who that was? Like, that to you is just a running back, but I think of that as several starts a year. That was his main.
Yep. I will. Keep talking, and I will effort that because I know who it is.
I can keep talking. It's like my job at this point. That has stuck in my head so much because that's what I always do. Like when I'm saying this stuff about ETN and Ken Walker, that and other people have said similar always comes back to me. Because I think when people say that, they think I'm thinking about Ken Walker or ETN when I'm like, running backs don't matter. No, I'm not. I'm talking about you overpaying for top 24 running backs who are just replaceable as shit, even in Dynasty. Because even in Dynasty, you can find the top 24 running back on the waiver wire, which is really rare at wide receiver for a consistent stretch anyway. These guys, those aren't the guys we're hating on in terms of their value and their upside in the long term. Like, I will trade them because they have that high. That's the only reason. You're going to give me a lot for them. I'm not going to let you take him for a second so you get, 10 starts next year. That's silly. But there is a line at which I have to remind myself that starts are important. And I think he had a good point. I'm not shitting on that point at all. But it's always what I want to check myself with when I'm saying this stuff. Like, I will trade Ken Walker and Travis Etienne all day. But you ain't gotten them like at a high value. Like they're really good. They're gonna be good for a number of years. And I want running backs too. I just wanted to make that point.
Scott Connor at Charles Chill on Twitter.
It was really fun. I'm terrible with names. That wasn't about his performance. Like I thought what he had to say on that panel was really interesting. And same with John Bosch and everyone else on it. But that's just the latest that stuck in my head. Hopefully that's enough riffing. Do you have anything more to add about Ken Walker? Because again, I know I am imagining he looks very fun to watch.
He was the best runner in the class last year.
Still is.
And that's I mean, he has not done anything to change my mind about that, but I still would prefer to have Breece Hall, who is the pass catcher and a very good runner.
I hate most of the things I have to say right now. Just finger wagging at a vague group that I can't name. But like, I'm honestly tired of people like trying to take a victory lap on Kenneth Walker. Like he was the second running back in the class. He was drafted as the second running back in the class. Everyone said he could catch passes, but won't catch a lot of passes. Like no one got Ken Walker wrong. Like if you drafted him and you want to feel good, I get it. But like no one didn't know. There wasn't like a wave of we hate running backs. As far as I know, anyway, maybe there was some Addison Hayes. He can go hard in the paint, but like, but he's also good. He knew Ken Walker was a high drafted running back who can run on the Seahawks. Like I don't think he would have said, "Oh, so never draft him in the first round." That would be silly, That I still see that. You didn't know about Ken Walker. Who didn't know about Ken Walker? Who? Name him. Do they play fantasy basketball? Because that's the only thing I can think of. Andrew A. Hey, welcome back, buddy. He's speaking to you though, so
no, I haven't watched it, Andrew. I don't watch college games live. I don't. I'll get to quarterbacks in about 3 more weeks. But I did watch Jalen Hyatt for you. If you want to have a Jalen Hyatt conversation later, I got some Jalen Hyatt under my belt now.
But I've got all but 70 IDs finally lined up in my data. You don't know, but that's what I've done. Tyler, hey, welcome back. I have AJ Brown, Lockett, Burks, Boyd. I like your wide receivers. As a competent wide receiver. That's definitely what Boyd is. He needs help. And that's why I'm thinking about moving a running back. What would you all do? I got beat for the 3rd place game. Oh, that sucks, bud. I'm sorry. But finished on top in regular.
Okay.
So fantasy sucks.
Yeah. And this is Tyler. This is something that you've got to get over in your head because it's people do this a lot where they'll lose in the playoffs and they blow up their team, even though you were really good in the regular season. Don't do that. If you finish top in the regular season, if you were the highest scoring team in the regular season, like literally any week, teams can have a down week, can have an up week, and so the playoffs. And I wish I had the tweet from who's the Adam Harstead. So he has a whole tweet thread on even if you go into your playoffs as the number 1 seed and have been the bull of the woods for the entire season, you have it's like a 40% chance of winning. Like it's just ridiculous. And so now this is not saying don't trade a running back, but don't panic because you didn't win your league. If you're in the hunt, your team is strong.
And yeah, I don't think I'd change what we said when you asked this question, by the way. I'd still be trading into wide receiver. Your wide receivers are good, don't get me wrong, but I would. You want to hunt, unless... Okay, you play in a different league that I've never seen before, so I will say, if you can move for Bijan Robinson without giving up too much, like, if you're giving up draft capital and a wide receiver, like, you don't get your team to do it. Like, that guy is going to be the difference maker next year. If you really, like, if you want to stop for a running back right now, it's that, which is a bunch. You can maybe take a shot at Breece Hall. Who else have we highlighted? Maybe DeAndre Swift is undervalued. But the way I would hunt running back, if that's what you think your team needs, and your wide receivers are competent, so I believe you, this offseason, there'll be a time to, and we'll look for those windows.
Right.
But it's not necessarily this week. There's no injuries. There's no big news. There's no big value dip. The lead up to the draft is going to cause some older running backs' values to drop. After the draft, we're going to see some changes because of landing spots. And then we'll start targeting the Saquon Barkleys, the Christian, those older running backs that can make that big difference. So like there'll be shots to improve your running back. But Zach's right. Don't get your team. You're obviously solid enough. Keep making moves that make sense for your team long term in terms of value. And we'll hunt running backs this offseason. Like there's no point in adding them, but we're usually looking for the right values. And they do come in the offseason. Like running backs get less attractive to a lot of teams. What else was I going to add for you? There was one other thing. No, I can't think of it. It'll come back to me. But like, don't panic. You did well this year. And yeah, that was the other thing. Zach's rounded out by, if you get to the playoffs, you've done your job. As long as you do a decent job making your starting roster after that, it's just, we can't predict the future. Like your team's good enough to get there, then it's good enough. You're not in a complete rebuild, but you are still looking to cycle value because you're not a top 3 team.
So Tyler, to put this in perspective for you, my playoff run for one of my teams was fueled by a wide receiver, and this is just to get it in your head how fluky the 3-week playoff is. My playoff run was fueled by Isaiah Hodgins, Mac Hollins, Richie James, and Zay Jones. So I just like think about that, and that team ended up as a second place finish, like rolled teams in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah, the playoffs.
I had
is
Darius
a
Slayton too.
of
I don't want to bury the lead.
Shiny things don't matter. So many like players end up winning the playoffs, and it's something to keep in mind. Like, don't devalue players because they can sometimes be the ones going off at 20 points per game. Keenan Allen down the stretch, CeeDee Lamb, who was at the start of the season, his value's too high, but we never quite know who they're going to be. That's why we don't target them and why they aren't ranked highly. But it is worth keeping in mind. And some of those discounts. Sober money question. I have Jerry Judy, and according to Keep Trade Cut, he's valued. He's in that range. Last time I looked at Keep Trade, that Brandon Ayuk and Jahan Dotson, and I squinted at him for a while, to be honest, because he's always been better performance. Like his stats are good, and it's never quite paid off. And this year, the team definitely seemed better when he was on the field, and I think that's interesting with Russell Wilson, though. Jacob Rickroad. When we were talking with him, he was all about Judy in that situation. We like Cortland Sutton. Well, it didn't work out for either of us, so I want to run away with the draw. Like Jerry Judy did seem to do better with Wilson, and the offense did seem to do a little bit better. Like just squinting a little bit.
But the question,
I'll give him the W on that one. I think.
I like Jacob. I'll give him the W on whatever. Like he's much smarter than I am. But if we're talking about this question, if you can get a late first for Judy, yes, absolutely.
I think so. Again, I'm going to go back to at this point, I'm not trading for a random first because they can bust. Get close to the draft, see who's falling, try and trade for that. I try and trade for the player that I want once I know who they are. More so. But yeah, Zach's right. Generically, that's do that. But you could also target the players that we mentioned, wide receiver, a little more solid and grab a second, and I like that move too.
Jerry Judy in this season where he was the best wide receiver with Russell Wilson,
scored
scored the same points per game as Jacoby Myers, who you could get for nothing.
I love Jacoby Myers, though, is the thing.
I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying that the general public is going to go Jacoby Myers. So, like, if I can get a first for Judy, I can get a player that I can get more for than I can for Judy, or I'll have a player that scores points, or I can turn around and trade that first closer to the draft. Like, yes, sober money, go get that first for Jerry Judy. There are 4 wide receivers that I really like in this class. There are 7 or 8 running backs that I'm interested in, depending on how landing spot falls, plus quarterbacks, plus there's a tight end. Like, this is I know that people have spent the last 4 months bashing this class after we spent 2 years talking it up. This is still the same 23 class that everyone spent 2 years talking up. They just got bored of talking it up, and so they started nitpicking. Like, this is a really good class.
To be fair, I start out negative and I stay negative.
Yes,
so,
that's true. That's true.
No, you're right, though. I think Jerry Judy's someone. I think even if he's going to do well again, it'll feel like a late breakout, and you're never going to get a first again. And even he's more points at this point. And if you can get, you should probably trade.
He's more points, and he's not many points. So yeah.
I mean, he's 12 points per game.
That's what I'm saying. But so was Jacoby Myers, and you could get him, 8
Jacoby Myers is awesome. Like, I think I might start trading for some Jacoby Myers. The next Edelman, some people have said. Other people. Tyler, out of the 110, the 111 in rookie dress, Superflex. I don't know. I think it's going to be a wide receiver late first. Is your best bet, but I really don't know this class yet. Zach?
So, I mean, late first, you're probably talking. You might end up with Jackson Smith and Jigba falling down there. Right now, it looks like the consensus is going to be Quentin Johnston at wide receiver 1. He's not my wide receiver 1, but you've got Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnston, and Keyshawn Butte, all as really good wide receivers. Plus, you've got that running back group of Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, a lot of people like Zach Evans, Sean Tucker is a pass catcher out of Syracuse. You got Kendra Miller out of TCU, who, for whatever he is, he like split time with Zach Evans and then had a really good season this past year. Charbonnet, who I'm higher on than a lot of people, even though he's a 4-year back and he transferred from Michigan State. Michigan State to UCLA. Like, Michigan, not Michigan State. Michigan to UCLA. I got it written down wrong. I'm gonna have to edit, but yeah. So like,
Michigan's a state.
There's a really good group here, and especially in Superflex, you're gonna have at least 2 quarterbacks in there. So you're gonna have, you're gonna have some players down there. Like, I would rather have a pick in this class, Tyler, unless I'm getting I'm fairly confident I'm getting a high-end pick in next year's class. I would much rather get a pick in this class. And then 2025 has got some running backs.
I will say the reason I mentioned my trade for a solid wide receiver in a second is I'll be really surprised if people are throwing around first for good, decent young wide receivers very often, even a month ago, let alone now we're basically in the offseason and people are like, I'm just waiting for the draft. But that there are options. But for the first, it's a good deal. Hey, Ryan McDowell says wavy hand.
He's already gone to bed now because we're an hour behind. But hey, Ryan.
Well, now he's gone. That's like a superstar just dropping in to give a wave. I have walked past Ryan McDowell once or twice, not to brag, but like he looks like a very nice, attractive older man. I think he's my age, to be fair. But like his profile picture, I don't recognize him. Is that a picture of someone else? That's not who I remember meeting. Have I been? That's not how I remember. Have I been like misled? The guy who I woke past was not really Ryan McDowell. Or is that like an older picture? Or I just wanted to ask you because you've known him longer.
I don't know what his. I'd have to look and see what his.
Anyway, yeah.
Profile picture looks like Peter.
I was like, who's that? And then I clicked on it. It was Ryan. I was like, that's Okay. He changed it. I hate it when people change their avatars. I don't recognize them anymore. Bob Gilchrist. Hey, bud. I agree, Peter. I have zero idea of payouts or cost. I just sent a link to pay, so I do. It works anyway. Can request payment. Yeah. I mean, not to plug a non-DLF thing, but League Safes, man, it's pretty cool. Safe Leagues, Scott Fisher's thing, because it centralizes it. I get an email and it clicky, and then when everyone asks, I'm like, whatever the commissioner says. That's the other good part about being in a league with a commissioner you like and trust. You like whatever John says is probably just fair. That's fine.
Peter,
if
Ryan
Russ says that, that's good with me. I'm good.
Ryan McDowell's avatar is Mike McDaniel, the coach of the Dolphins. But it could be like a Peter Howard typo, like McDaniel. It could be.
I was honestly going a little. I was like, I swear that's not what Ryan looks like. I know. I have not been tricked. God, I don't know what anyone looks like. Thanks, Bob. Lakers ex-Commanders. Hey. 10-team Superflex start 9. I have Mahomes, Fields, Tua, and Purdy. Breece Hall, he has this team. I should stop reading.
This is nice.
What should he do? Again, that's an honest question. Again, you can do a bunch of stuff and all of them worked out. At this point, looking at your team, the only things I see that I really have interest in doing something with drastically would be Brian Robinson. I guess if you can get a second-round pick for him right now, I'd be interested, unless you're going to tell me everyone loves Brian Robinson now. It's trade running backs at good value. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I would try and package him and move up, or get another. You got plenty of draft picks. Try and get 24 capital. Everyone else I'm at or above consensus on. So, yeah. I mean, a good trade is a good trade. You can trade away Breece Hall right now if you get a great trade. You can trade away Lamb right now if you get a great trade. But I'm not actively trying to do, particularly if they're on my roster. I'm pretty happy. Your team looks good.
So if I've got this team, I'm going to try to get up into that 101, because I think
that's a good idea.
I think with the 103, 104, 105, you might be able to package a couple of those to get up to the 101.
And I think this is a year to do it. Strong draft class or not, that 101 seems like it for the there's a lot more certainty around it.
And if I can, then I'm starting to look at a move like take London and the 105 and see if I can move up to Justin Jefferson or Chase, and see if I can do something like that. And if I can, then all of a sudden I have made some noise. And then you trade your Brian Robinson for a second and have fun with that, Peter. But man, you could really do some damage with. Again, start 9 Superflex. So Mahomes and Fields. So there's 2 of your 9, and those guys have a chance to be the quarterback 1 any given week. So you've got 2 guys who could be the quarterback 1 every single week, which is nice. And then
you've even got depth at quarterback, so you could really move to the 101.
Yeah, and then you've got Breece and Najee, who I think are really top end running backs. If you added, if you could add Bijan Robinson, all of a sudden you've got like this unbelievable. And then you've got Lamb, who is going to score and is good and is young. Garrett Wilson, who should score, is good and is young. If you can add one more wide receiver to that, holy cow, you have got a team that you're going to crush the league for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, those are my favorite kind of teams.
Have a good night, Lakers. He didn't even stick around. I guess he's going to watch it later, but I appreciate you. And yeah, do what Zach said. I like that idea a lot. Tyler Reeves, God, I've missed these. Been gone a while. Welcome back, man. I really appreciate it. Celebrating 5 titles.
Yeah.
Out of 14. That's a good rate, man.
Hey, that's pretty awesome.
Fine by me. Thanks for your help. Went 5 of 5 in so if you made the championship, you won. Oh, that's perfect. I'll tell you what, who were the league winners? I've got to look at that over the playoffs. I think Keenan Allen,
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans, yeah.
Mike Evans had like 47 points in like regular standard PPR.
So I was gonna say I was kind of doing really well in best ball.
Eckler.
Over the last 4 weeks, I've come down to barely just above breaking even. I'm like, shit, I must have missed them. I don't think I had a lot of Eckler. I don't think I had a lot of Evans. That's probably why.
Yeah.
Barclays. Tyler Reed, Zach Evans.
Yep.
He's talking to Tyler, so I should just probably not read their private conversation. Well, not private, but... Am I crazy for debating between Gibbs and CJ? Don't know who the second one is.
Stroud.
I've heard of the first.
The quarterback.
Okay. At the 102. Lance and Love. But my running backs. These are his running backs. I think that's Javonte Williams, Cam Akers, Kim Walker. I don't know this class. I can say in general, yes, you probably are. In the Superflex, you should be looking at the quarterback.
Yeah, if you're not taking the quarterback, then you should be trading the pick for a quarterback. Especially with the quarterbacks that you have with Lance and Love. I don't think Love is ever going to be what people thought he was. My write up of Love, the last paragraph was don't draft him, draft Jalen Hurts. Like that was literally the last sentence of my Jordan Love write up, and Trey Lance. We're hoping that he becomes one of these running quarterbacks and gets it together. But like, man, if you're in a super flex, take Stroud or take one of the two quarterbacks if you've got the 102. This
is what, and Stefan, you can tell me you get lost. It's your team, but looking at what I know of your roster, your mind shouldn't. You should try and win in 2023. I'm always trying to win next year, but to do that in this situation, from what I know of your roster, my mind's not on starts. No. Like, I like a lot of the running backs you've got, but it's trade running back season, my man, and you got no quarterbacks. I like Lance's upside, but your roster's trash if Lance doesn't do that. And that's a complete rebuild with nothing because all you'll have is Cam Walker because Javonte Williams is going to take a year probably to get healthy and better again. Cam Akers is only good for a few games during the playoffs, seems to be the pattern. Cam Walker's solid, like we were just talking about. Rashad White did okay in relief, but he's got a really limited ceiling at this point. Yeah. Gibson, same thing. So you've got a handful of okay and one good running back and nothing else. I don't know what you wide receiver. Like my mind would be on. I want to trade that pick to get more things. Like you need more things.
But if you hit on hunting, if you hit on a quarterback at the 102, that's a win.
That's the thing. I don't know these quarterbacks, but like you have to get quarterbacks, and where your roster is entirely prone to if you don't hit, you're screwed. I want to go trade for one. I'm going to be pretty safe. I want to move for value, not for making the right picks. I know I play a little different than you. You're going to play hitting in the rookie draft a little bit more than I do. Well, but like I would add something to that 102, and I'd try and get the best quarterback I could. I'd flip these running backs for as much draft capital this year and next year as I could. That's where I would probably be.
That's the part where you and I are in lockstep. So I still think the 102 is probably going to be Stroud
again.
If you like Bryce Young more, fine. But I am definitely on board with Cam Akers has been really good at the end of the season. If people believe in that, then yes, let's ship him. Let's ship Javonte Williams if we can, and see what you can do in terms of getting young wide receivers and
the only reason I mention it is because I've tried to play different ways many times, and I've been in a situation where I had this type of I like all these running backs for different reasons, so I keep envisioning a few of them are going to hit, and if I can get get Gibbs, and then I'm really competitive. But again, that's where I've just over the years changed to. Except that my team is prone to ifs and buts, that means I'm wholly if not and but not, I guess, then I'm real trouble. It's Dynasty. I don't have a redraft coming. I don't want to quit. Maybe you do want to quit the league. I don't know. Then instead, I started to switch up to okay. I can't play for as if I'm going to start a good. I'm going to try, but I'm going to do it by trying to go through value and add assets and add more things for more things, just because. There's too many ifs and buts. Having said that, I see your second comment here, and it's just you love Gibbs.
I mean, Gibbs is good.
So does
he's running back too, but he feels a little bit Swiftian, where he's not quite he's a little small I mean, not like real small, but like 5'11", 200, like a little small, really good pass catcher. You're assuming he's going to get more carries than he has. He's good. He's really good. He's a running back too, and I really want him on teams, but not at the expense of a quarterback, especially with what you've got for quarterbacks there. It's the outhouse. I can hear him. He's saying draft for value, trade for need, and I think the value in a Superflex is quarterback.
Hope that's helpful. Or dismiss it. Play your game, man. You're welcome back anyway, so it's fine. And Casey Morse, would you trade Swift for Javonte in a second? Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's fine. It's changing within a tier for me, and you're getting a second, so it's fine. But like, I'm more interested in trading Swift for other things. But
yeah. And I think that's fine. The issue with trading for Javonte Williams is you're trading one running back with some issues for another running back with some issues, and who knows?
You get in a second.
So,
but the thing is, once I did this, I'd then be trying to trade Javonte for something as well. That's, I think, my point. And as far as when,
oh no, I think Swift is actually starting to be undervalued right now. Like I think you're seeing Swift drop almost out of the top 12 running backs in Dynasty, which he shouldn't be.
That's the thing. I think that's kind of where Javonte is right now as well. Yep. So the last thing I can find on Javonte Williams' injury history or his potential, is RotoWorld saying he's going to look to return in week 1 of the 2023 season. He did get hurt early enough; it could happen, but I know it's a significant enough injury. There's probably a lag time between him coming back and being good again. So yeah. Anyway, just gonna throw that out. So with money, I would get Mahomes, not JJ. Yeah, I think that's right. JJ is demented of Kirk Cousins. Demented, dependent, maybe.
Yeah. He's not dependent on Kirk Cousins.
I don't think so.
I'm here to tell you, Justin Jefferson is that guy.
I mean, Kirk Cousins is good enough, especially. I think he's actually a little underrated, but so it's not like Jefferson can't suffer from not having someone at least as good as Kirk Cousins. If that's what you're suggesting, I get that. But yeah, it's more quarterback value in Superflex, but we went the same way. Oh, he meant dependent. Hey, we got it right. Yeah.
Yep.
And don't forget a rookie QB. Yeah, this tends to be rookie QBs tend not to help wide receivers early necessarily, but again, it's just Justin Jefferson. I'm not too scared. We'll be fine as long as KOC is there. Is that an acronym of the coach or the offensive coordinator? I don't know those people. Tyler Reeves, I got offered Gallup, Javonte Myers, at a third for Ramondre and Burks. No.
I'd rather have Burks and Ramondre by quite a sight.
Yeah. They're trying to package up, and maybe trade for Myers, but not for those things.
Yeah,
just go ahead and keep those things.
And again, I like Ramondre Stevenson is better than he's pretty good. And I think, and I know this is a dangerous game, but I think Belichick actually likes Ramondre Stevenson quite a bit. Like, they threw to him quite a bit, and then they gave him a lot of the rushing work when Harris went down. So
yeah, I think it's okay to think of him as a New England running back, but that itself doesn't mean that he can't be more of what we've already seen. He was a pretty decent prospect. We liked him. We wanted to add him. So far, it's all been good. Recovering Ridley Truther. Yo, guys, what a season. Yeah, tell me about it. In general, when do you decide to trade vets? I mean, it's windows and swings and roundabouts, and not in the off season. As a generic rule that should never be applied to all situations in every league. In season, I'm trying to trade for value because people are less interested in it, and they're more interested in points. And in the off season, I'm trading for points for the reverse reason. So vets like this are more points than they are value. So during the off season is when I trade for them rather than trading them away. But again, it's about what trade. what is it's about what, you know what I mean? It's about what you can get. So yeah, and what your team situation is.
Well, and again, like he just said he lost in the playoffs. So I'm not panicking on these wide receivers on a team that just made the playoffs. Like if you can get value for Devontae Adams, maybe I do that. I think Diggs and Tyreek still have 2, 3, 4 more years where you're feeling pretty good about them. So they're not players that I'm moving off of necessarily. I like your wide receiving core with Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and Stephon Diggs. That's a bull of the woods receiving core right there. So don't just move off them because you lost. If you're getting value, if you're getting a good young players back, maybe do that. But I'm not actively like blowing up my team just because I have guys who are 28, 29, 30.
Mm-hmm. Like that's when they score their points.
Yeah.
So 10-team PPR Dynasty Superflex. Would you do the 101 and 102, 23 picks for JJ? Ooh, those are 2 really high picks, but it is JJ. He's got Tyreek Hill, Chase, AJ. That would be really nice. Let's see. It is a Superflex, so you're giving up Bijan Robinson for JJ.
Right. Superflex, you're giving up Bijan Robinson and a quarterback for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love to do that, I don't. So maybe what I do is try to trade the 102 and Tyreek Hill for Jefferson and then end up with Jefferson and Bijan. That I might do.
And there's questions about Cousins for JJ. This is a reasonable trade. Yeah. No, I'm walking it through. This is a reasonable trade. It's the right value. In a vacuum or from what you've given me, I think I go for Bijan Robinson. Because here's the thing. Bijan Robinson doesn't get hurt, plays next season. I think he has like a Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey value arc where we want JJ, but it's Saquon Barkley. And after that first year, like there was nothing. It was Kyle Pitts, but with points. There was nothing that you could ask for that was too much. So it's not inconceivable you could get Jefferson plus for Bijan Robinson by the end of the season.
If it was just the 101, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I would trade Bijan Robinson and get Justin Jefferson because in 2 years, what I'm going to do is trade Bijan Robinson to get Justin Jefferson or whoever the next Justin Jefferson is.
That's what I mean. Like the 101 is close, and then you're adding a quarterback in Superflex, and it's like,
yeah.
I like your idea. I would get JJ, but I think you can get a better trade for yourself than this. Like add Tyreek and the 102. It's a really great offer for JJ.
Yeah.
And then, trying something like that. I mean, if you just want Jefferson, I'm not going to call you an idiot for getting him, but I think you can do slightly better. It's not insane. Zach, half point PPR, 1 QB. That wasn't to you. That's just his name, by the way. Zach.
I got you. It's got an H.
He has the 104, the 107, the 109, the 110, the 202 to the 204. He's got all the draft picks, basically. He has Deshaun Watson, ETN, Dobbins, Pollard, Fournette, Olave, Gabe Davis. We definitely told you to trade him before now, but whatever. DJ Moore, Jerry Judy, Christian Watson, Rondell Moore. I feel like that we're running out of room for a quick. Oh, there we go. Fairmouth. I know not to move the picks till the draft. I'll come back to that. You definitely can. That's not the rule. But should I trade them off for a future 24 first or picks? Or what should he do with all this? Is the question. You have Fairmouth, so like I give you a pass on not trading Gabe Davis. The reason I said I wanted to come back to that is it's not a rule. You shouldn't not trade those picks. It's just we know the pick value escalates. So if you can't get what you want for them now, you can wait because it probably should be more by the time of the draft. But you can freely trade picks anytime if you can get good value on them. And now it's not a bad time to start trying. Zach, do you want to go first?
The cool thing about having all of those picks is you can use those to tier up some of your players. So like you could take a pick and ETN and all of a sudden move up to Breece Hall. You could take a pick in Dobbins and all of a sudden move up to, so that's one of the things that I would start doing is I would take DJ Moore and a pick and see if I could move up to the next tier up of wide receivers. Same thing with Jerry Judy. Same thing with Christian Watson. That's what I would be looking to do now. Now, Peter, I think what you said is absolutely right. Where you don't have to trade these picks right now, Zach. But if you get a good deal, if you get value on them, because people are already starting to get excited about having picks. People already want to have picks. The season's over now. Now the next milestone is your rookie draft in your dynasty leagues. So people are already turning their attention to these picks. If you can get value for them, absolutely trade them. You don't have to wait until you're on the clock, but you can.
Yeah, your team's got like a million ways. You're in a good position, but I would say you have to make moves. And I think Zach highlighted the right wide receivers. Like, start packaging, start moving up. And I think in general, that's where my will be on this team. You have got enough things to put enough things with enough things to start tearing up, so that by the time the season comes around, your roster is like stocked with stars, and you have some draft options. Like, you can move up to the 101 with the number of picks you've got, and that would definitely be an interesting first way to go. But Judy, Watson specifically, ETN, Pollard, Fournette, like, these are things I'm really interested in moving right now. And if you can use those to tear up and your picks to tear up to the Bijan Robinson, then you start the season with like top tier wide receivers. Like, I'd move Olave if I can go up to that top tier, and I'm starting next season with Chase, and you manage
Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb, and
Robinson. Like, that's. And again, I'm not telling you who to trade for, which direction to go, but that's what I'm trying to do. Like, start combining some of these things and turn them into who are for you, your top tier players. And even to the point that you're trading up for that 101. So you've got that running back coming, even if because you're trying to trade, I would be trying to trade ETN and Dobbins and Pollard or Fournette. Then it comes at the right time, if you know what I mean, to just add that running back when the season comes, and you add him to a team with like top tier wide receivers by combining and tearing up, like, oh, gold. Now, you might not be able to do all of that, and I'm not telling you have to like Chase more than maybe you like, I don't know, fucking anyone you like. But that's the way I'd start moving with this team. Like, it's a really solid base. Your tight end position is set, so you're like, cool. And it's only one QB, and so those are the moves that you're making. You're trying to tear up in the wide receiver and trying to target starting the season with the best running backs you can. And the 1-on-1's really interesting for that, but do as much. That's the way I'd go with it. What are you guys doing with Tua shares in Superflex leagues? It's a good question. I'm trying to pack him with a player pick to tear up. I think that's the best answer. Dak's a really good target as well. I would really try for Hurts as well, just in case a guy in your league is one of those people. Herbert was somewhat no, he came up down the stretch as well.
Kyler's probably the other one. Dak, Kyler. I mean, you're probably out on the, like, Trevor Lawrence is probably up higher than that at this point. But yeah, like that, and I would do, like, depending on what you're having to package with Tua, like, I would go move to Dak. I also don't hate hanging on to him. Yeah, I mean,
so you can add to move up to get out of those concerns, and yet still get your value in Tua, and that's I think that's smart if you can get it, and if you can't, I still like Tua. I'm concerned about his concussions, not much else. Sammy, 10-team Superflex start 10. He has the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 9 in this year's draft. The quarterback position is set. Good to know. Trade the 2, 9, and the 5. Trade the 2, 9 for the 5 and the 6. Should I be getting more?
I'd rather have the 102. Yeah.
That 2 is like exponentially different than everything else in it. You should be getting more. Probably can't. How many people have 3 first-round picks? You know, but you can move to 24. You're probably going to have to have really good players is where you go, yeah.
Yeah. And you're looking at, slot in the quarterback,
best quarterback in the
12, round, 14, like that. That's about where you're talking. So you're I don't know, you're looking in the Tyreek Hill range with the 102, like that type of player. T. Higgins, Brees Hall, like that's the type of player you're looking to get back with that
And
102.
it's Superflex. Never write off the fact that Bijan Robinson running back, man, a smart player can easily draft the quarterback at the 101. So like value the 102.
Yep.
Like it's in any draft, it's quantum leaps above the 3, the 4, the 5, let alone the 5 and the 9, 5 and the 6. So yeah.
And don't just trade it to don't just trade, take the quarterback. If you can't get a deal done that you want, take the quarterback and then use that quarterback as your hammer, because you can trade, you've already said you're set at quarterback. That just because you're set at quarterback doesn't mean you can't draft another one and use that guy as the hammer. So
exactly. Recovering Ridley Truther. Zach, I still remember your Pickens call last year. High ceiling, but zero floor. What are your top 3 in the 23 wide receiver? Thanks, Ridley Truther. I just
Peter, you gotta use the that was my cathedral. That was George Pickens and the Basilica. But so far this year, it's Jordan Addison is my wide receiver 1 by like a niet, just a niet. Wide receiver 2 is Jackson Smith and Jigba, and wide receiver 3 is Quentin Johnston. And Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith, and Jigba are like right neck and neck, and Quentin Johnston is just a little bit back from those two. But those are my top 3 wide receivers right now.
I gotta remember.
Peter's got nothing yet.
No, but I was really high on Pickens. I just didn't make a ceiling cathedral metaphor. No one remembers.
I mean,
I traded Olave for Smitty and McKinnon. The week Olave missed recently in the playoffs. Won the shit for me. Nice.
Yeah, McKinnon was a league winner.
That's a good point. That guy, 10-team Superflex PPR, 6 points per passing touchdown, start 10. He's in championship limbo, but looking ahead. He's got QB Hurts, Carr, Fields, running backs of Saquon, Eckler, and ETN. Pretty solid squad, my man. Would you trade Fields for Kyler and Brees?
Yes. If I could get Kyler and Brees, I would. If it was just Kyler, I'd hang on to Fields, but getting those, I don't think it's too much of a step down to get Kyler. I think it's probably more of a lateral move, and Brees Hall, man, I really think that when this all shakes out, he's going to be the running back 2 and maybe the 3 at the worst after next season.
Mm-hmm. How close would the 110, the 111, and Lockett for like Garrett Wilson or receivers of that tier?
It's probably
Lockett a lot.
It's probably a little light, but I mean, it depends on how much. If you got Peter's film grinder who's telling you that Garrett Wilson is not creating separation, and you're in a league with him, then maybe you get Garrett Wilson for that. But for me, I'm probably not giving up Garrett Wilson for Lockett, and 2, I hope that these are good players.
Try it for Burks instead.
Oh, Burks, I think you get that done. I think Lockett and a first probably gets it done for Burks. I think you could probably lock it in the 110, yeah. And I'd be happy with that if I were you, Tyler. So Drake London is another one that and I'm not as big on Drake London as I am on, but he's another one that proven. That I think you could do something like that with. If I was going to, man, you're probably not getting St. Brown for that. Yeah, so you'd either have to add something to Lockett and those 2 picks to get up into that Wilson tier, or go the tier down with players that should be worth more but aren't.
Well, let's talk about tiers. Remember, Tyler, we want you to refer to your own tiers. If you don't want to make them, that's fine. But you generally have a list of who you like the most in the second. And that's all we roughly mean with tiers. So you can target different players, but that's the way I'd be thinking about it. Who do I think is in that tier? But maybe people are less certain on. I was just wondering, Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's probably too little for me, but a lot of people out there will be like, "Oh, draft a wide receiver. He's just targets." There's a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't that good sentiment. He's been hurt this year. I would start with those. Anyone in your tier 1B, shall we call it, who you think is that kind of wide receiver, and then tier down to, can I get Burks? Can I get so on and so forth? And Wilson and that Wilson and London come between those easily, but I think you're more likely to get Burks than Wilson or London. That's why I said Burks on the last one as well. But yeah, we're giving you how we would approach it, but it's really, your league mates are really going to set what you can and can't get. And the best you can do is try to approach them reasonably with good values and see what you can get, if you know what I mean. And if you go much far below that, by the way, like, make the picks. It's a good year to make the picks. Like Zach was saying, you don't have to trade them away. A lot of those deep wide receiver round 1 picks could be some really good wide receivers. So don't get too thirsty in your tiers. Don't go too far down where you're trading it for, like, Jerry Judy just to get rid of it. You don't have to do that. Ben, 18 PPR, half-point PPR, sorry, Superflex. How would you adjust your positional value based on league size? In a very specific way, actually. And QBs fall in our rookie draft due to the availability of them on the waiver wire. That's interesting and good to know. Where mocks have multiple quarterbacks in the top 5 picks. Is this a pure dynasty league, Ben? I know it's 18, so that's having drastic effect. Again, the specific way I adjust is the fewer teams, or the fewer starts, actually, the fewer players I will put in those top tiers, and the more interested I'll be in them. Yeah. Like, it becomes a studs and duds approach increasingly. The smaller the start roster becomes, and in an 8-team league, like, that's pretty severe. Right. And to your point, like, QBs in a Superflex, even in an 8-team, I don't think should be on the waiver wire, startable. Maybe a Purdy, maybe a Bailey Zapp, but that top tier of quarterbacks we're always talking about becomes so much more valuable for the same reason. So I kind of understand it from that perspective. But yeah, I can't give you a number, like, adjust it by 7. But, like, it becomes it's all a it's an exponential curve, not a linear one. So the ones at the top are exponentially more valuable than the ones only marginally down. And the deeper the league goes, the higher that disparity becomes, like, to a significant degree.
And that's a little bit like what we said earlier, where it's not necessarily positional value, but it is the value of a player over their position. So, like, the top players over the rest of their position, rather than, like, positional value, positional scarcity. So I'm in lockstep with you, Pete.
Yep. It's nice every now and again, since you'll get credit for it. Like a Pickens or Olave.
We mentioned them.
I would say Olave is in your Wilson tier. I would still rather go for Burks. I think you're more likely to get it. And I actually kind of like the upside of Burks a little bit more. But Olave's in that tier. Pickens is slightly below.
Yeah.
I got him above Jahan Dotson, don't get me wrong. Yep. But there's still a few more questions. But, like, again, his target per route run and his percentage of he should actually escalate in volume next year, which is the question for Pickens. Whereas Dotson, he's a little less likely to get a higher target share, in my personal opinion, right now. Which means, but they still do have to increase their target share, which means they're less proven than the Olave and the Pickens and Burks is the one in that situation that I'm more confident is going to do it, even of those 3. So that's why I said Burks. But Olave's solid and Pickens is good too. If you want to try for them, you just, again, it's how much you have to give that changes it. Jacoby Myers is one of those wide receivers that's surprisingly near the top of all the possession-based wide receiver stats. Not surprisingly, he's good. I will say this, like, last year, the problem was touchdowns. It became virtually a meme in and of itself. This year's touchdown rates, like, he's fixed, or they fixed that problem. And the team's good.
Now Deontay Johnson is the touchdown meme.
Yeah, seriously, this year it's been pretty bad. But, like, I don't know. I like Jacoby Myers a lot. There's a lot of upside in his value, even if he just keeps doing what he's doing. And I think he could do better. At this point, it's can the team start scoring more, which is more about quarterback position. But I could have Bateman in there besides Lockett. I would keep Bateman over Lockett in Dynasty where you're trying to add value. Like, I love Lockett, don't get me wrong, but this is a value equation. Bateman does get you more, though. He should get you more. If Bateman moves you from the Burks tier to the CDAS or whoever's in your 1B tier, which for us was CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle, then do it. Like, that's tearing up. But if you're still looking for Wilson, I'd rather trade Lockett than Bateman. But it would still be fine. I take that back. Bateman for the Wilson tier would be fine.
Wilson's pretty close to that tier for me.
That's good. That's good. But if you're looking for Burks, the reason I'm sending it is because I think he's slightly lower value, so I can get away with it and keep Bateman and get Burks. I'd be pretty happy. Even though Tyler Lockett is Marcus Brown, is Jarvis Landry, there's great players that people always undervalue, and Deontay Johnson now is probably on that list. So, like, I don't want to tell you trade away Tyler Lockett, but very specific situation. Or a specific one. Happy off season. Happy non-point scoring season. Brand. Or DLF brand anyway. Stephen Peterson,
Russ.
where do you guys currently reside? What state or province? We're in America.
The province of Maine.
Kentucky. You can tell by the accent. I know. People don't actually. I should clarify. I still get questions because I say that and people aren't sure where the joke is. I live in Kentucky, to be clear. The fact that I'm English originally is the joke, but I do live in Kentucky. It's not. That's not the joke. Not one joke about living in Kentucky because they come after you if you do. Zach Linton, hey there, buddy. Sorry, it took a while to get there. That feels rude. He said hey, and then an hour later we're like, hey. Sorry. Jeff Jacobs in a 12-team 1 QB, and he has a 110.
Yeah.
2-12. Oh, he's in 2 12-team leagues, you think? And he has a 110. What 3-4 wide receivers should I target in a trade? We've named them, I think, at this point, but I'm happy to do it again. Both teams are bad. Yeah, you got the 110. We got you. Well, to be fair, you could not have earned that pick. Earned the first or second overall pick. That's awesome. I mean, that's positive, rather. So I need to build up my roster. Yeah, definitely. It's a little easy to do with more information about your rosters. In general, I actually think you can make that pick. Like, this year is a good year to make the pick. Like we said before, no pressure to trade away. If you can get into some of these wide receivers, if you can get
Calvin
I know.
Ridley.
On a team that deserves like the 110, are you trading for players? It feels more like Calvin. You don't need Calvin Ridley if that's the only thing you've got on your team, though, right? For the 110, that could be JSN. That does so much more for your team on a build.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, I don't think JSN falls to the 110, especially in a one quarterback league. But said earn the first or second overall pick, so that to me means that.
Yeah,
he's got he's going to end up with that running back. He's going to end up with, either Bijan Robinson or Gibbs or whoever those top wide receivers. I'm targeting Devontae Smith. I'm targeting Calvin Ridley, those type of players. Ayuk is another player that you might be able to get for a single first. And so, yeah, those are. And Peter, I think you're right. Like, I don't mind hanging on and trying to make that pick and end up with either a JSN or a Jordan Addison or a Quentin Johnston or Kayshon Butte. Like, those are the players that I want. Like, if I end up at the 110 and it's some of these running backs and I'm not a running back away, then I'm going to start shopping for those wide receivers.
And I will say in advance, Jeffrey, if somehow the running back falls, you draft for value. So you take the running back if that's the best thing you can do, and then you try and trade him as time goes on.
Right.
Just to be clear.
Yep.
Hopefully that helps. If I can get Dak plus for Tua, I'd do it. Yeah, I think that's a really solid idea. Howdy's heroes. And now that the dismal span from September to December is over, I know it's great, right? Where people care about points. we can finally sit back and enjoy the real Dynasty discussion. I really do think this is a Dynasty season. Thanks for all you do, Peter, Zach, and Russ. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Andrew A., with the new wide receiver data, you gave us a brief window into earlier. How does Skymore fall into your ratio of positive or negative? I really have a lot of work to do to understand a lot of the data I've added. What I will say, what stuck about a few players, just skimming over it as I try and add, Skymore and a few other players that haven't clearly hit, Lave is the exception here, had a big disproportional representation into how far they were playing in line, I think it's the way PFS says it, or wide. Interestingly, Chris Olave and Jahan Dotson and a few of these other suspect, to my opinion, prospects and Skymore were playing out wide more often. That struck me as odd. Because Burks and Wilson and also London all had a relatively even balance. They were inside as much as they were outside, is the way I read that. And I thought that was interesting. They all had different ADOTs and stuff like that, but it was interesting. I haven't done a lot of testing or coming to terms with it yet, so it's a little hard to take it further than that. Again, I should have it ready and out, if not this week, then next week. And hopefully you can tell me.
If you were going to compare Skymore to a dropped punt, sorry. That's all I saw him do. I watched like 3 games with Kansas City and Skymore muffed punts in all 3. I was just like, oh.
I would take the muffed punt if that helps. And he doesn't turn up in like the top 300 flex players, so I don't have him on this list.
There's your answer, Andrew.
Yeah, like he's been. I think I've been pretty confident he's bad for a while.
They traded for Kadarius Toney, so they didn't have to play Skymore.
Literally. But I did want to look. I don't think I've seen him. Give me a second. You were talking about NFL data. That's what I was interested. I was wondering, could I look at him for NFL data?
Andrew, you got him sidetracked. Look what you did. You got him going into the spreadsheet again.
His target rate, so targets per route run, is around 19%, which is actually pretty decent. Target share is only 6.5. His route rate is 93. Yeah, I think he was on the field enough. He had the opportunity per pass play to earn a larger share of the offense while he was on the field. I think that's what I'm taking away. Yeah, he looks like the quintessential, like he's maxed it in routes, but didn't do it. But again, this brief look, trying to move on because Zach's getting mad. Tyler Reeves, thoughts on Russell Wilson? I know he's been down and out, but do you think he can step? Actually, yeah, that thought crossed my mind earlier this week. It was like, it's probably trade for Russell Wilson season.
Yeah, and I like that. So his next message is, I traded a late second, like the 211 for him. That's an absolute steal.
Yeah, that's. Is it Superflex? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Good eye for value there, Tyler. Good job. Beautiful evening, good people. Same to you, Mr. Scampers. Thanks very much. One thing I didn't expect from Garrett Wilson was how aggressive his route running is.
Yes.
Super explosive and fluid, so good. I believe only 9 rookie first-round wide receivers have achieved 130 targets. I want to buy in. I'd give you the green light to do so. Him and Olave are the only 2 solid definites. Karen?
No, I was gonna say we did this. We bought in Genji. If you were here like 4 or 5 weeks ago, we bought in. I know that I was a little hot takey putting him over Olave, but I'm still putting him over Olave.
I think we agreed. It was like fine. I'm not taking it from you.
I'll go back and pull the you and Russ on one side and me on the other clip and throw that out for you.
That's fine. I'm just saying I like Traylon Burks. I'm just
that's valid.
I'm just gonna be that brave, and then I'll say that.
Yeah. So Genji, Peter, can I steal this for just a second with Wilson? Okay. So this is my write-up of Garrett Wilson and his positives. Wilson has speed to burn, both in his routes and after the catch. And on top of this, Wilson has some of the sharpest breaks in the class. His cuts often leave corners on skates. This combination of straight line speed and lateral quickness allows him to get open both underneath and downfield. And Wilson also has the ability to attack zones with savvy, finding the swaths of open spaces between defenders to work in. An interesting note on Wilson is his intelligence using the sideline as a flak jacket, going out of bounds smartly rather than getting lit up by safeties. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, Genji, is like his route running and his explosiveness is like that was all there on film in college. And you're seeing more of it. And you saw him with Mike White and Flacco be incredibly successful.
Yeah, I think it's really important to highlight that you target Drake London before Traylon Burks. Like, I'm overly biased to my college profile. I think it's still there, but Drake London really outperformed in this season.
Yeah, he had a good season. But Burks also was injured twice this year. He started off injured and ended up with a concussion. So,
yeah, that's what I'm adjusting for. But like, proven is better than hypothetical, if you know what I mean. Mr. Scampers coming off an admirable fill-in job last season. Thank you. Tyler Huntley has really struggled. Is he this bad, or is he the Ravens' offense as a whole?
He's a backup quarterback, and their offense is kind of stagnated.
Yeah, I don't think Tyler Huntley was. I didn't expect him to be great, and even Jackson was struggling. Like they lost all their weapons, and the season was really kind of struggling as a whole. Like I wouldn't like he's a fine backup.
And the fact that Mark Andrews, and I can't stress this enough, Mark Andrews was hurt for most of this season. He has a shoulder injury and he had a knee injury, and he still played through it. And if your best target is not 100%, you're going to struggle more than if he is.
For sure. I haven't looked at those stats in relation to tight end. Now I'm interested. Damn it. Yeah. SU2, buddy. One quarterback, half point PPR, 23, 102, 103, or Justin Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Same question as earlier. Yeah. Or similar.
Yeah, it was the 101 and 102 before, but the 102 and 103 is no question, especially in a one quarterback.
Quarterback.
It's not quarterbacks. It's
It's not
Jefferson.
Yeah, it's Jefferson. Woo! Which running back would you try to trade to get the 101?
ETN or Walker, Taylor, either one of them.
I mean, I'd rather trade Travis Etienne than Ken Walker than Jonathan Taylor. Travis Etienne and Ken Walker are kind of the same value, so either. I'd rather trade both of them before Jonathan Taylor, but any of them for the 101 is fine. It's
Yep.
Stephen Peterson, let's do this again. George Pickens, go. I think we talked George Pickens to death right there. But, yeah. All right. Give me a second.
So for me, Pickens is really good, but people are now starting to come to terms with the fact that he's really good, and now they're starting to dream on him. So I think you're going to reach a point where Pickens is overvalued by the community, even though I think he has that ceiling. And so he right now, I'm really glad I drafted him. I'm really glad I have him on teams. I think there's going to come a point where I flip him because I can get players I would rather have, but I think he is a really good wide receiver, a really good ex-wide receiver, a player who's going to win downfield on the sideline, doing that sort of thing. He also, I don't know, Peter, if you've got this offhand, but statistically, like he had a lot of contested catches this year, and so that's something that I don't love. It's not the end of the world, but I think that you need a certain type of quarterback to throw balls into windows that are contested, and that's not every single quarterback in the league, and so that narrows down places where he can be successful if it's not, if he's not tied to the same quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm still uncertain on Pickens, but I think between him and Dotson, I'm more convinced with Pickens. He developed like what is it, 21% of his routes per game would represent 21% of the team's routes per game if their per game stats were an every game thing. To me, that means he's actually earning a decent amount of volume. Now, his route rate was around 94% of the team plays that he was available for. He ran a route. That's going to regress. It normally regresses, which is concerning because he had a lower target share. It's around 15%. But his aggressive routes per team route suggests that he's already doing that. That's just about his presence on the field. I think he's more positive than Jahan Dotson. I think there's a lot of upside there. And like what we said about his college profile, he has immense upside, and this is a significant flaw just because of the nature he plays, and he's got off-field concerns as it is, even though those haven't risen. His head in the NFL. I think he's the guy with the upside that some Jahan Dotson truthers think Jahan Dotson has.
Yeah.
If I'm going to make a bet in that range, it's easily Pickens.
Yep.
But again, I do strongly prefer Olave Wilson and Burks, who's in that range as well. London above them as well. So yeah, if you're going to peer through a glass darkly and think who's going to outperform what they should do based on the rookie season, even though it was solid, Pickens is the guy. I probably do have the contested catches and stuff plugged in here. Again, all my data is still pinned to my timeline if you want to look. But I don't typically look at contested catches stuff because I just want target. So, and again, like if I can tear up with anyone in that range, like that's fine. Yep. But I'm more motivated to do Dotson than I am with Pickens. Again, he had aggressive, very large route per game, and that Devontae Smith, players who outperform their rookie season expectation so far from what I've seen do that. They have over 20%. Their routes per game are 20% of the team's routes per game. Devontae Smith, and before that, it was T. Higgins, I think it was. And I think he's got upside because of how aggressive his routes per game were. But again, I'm not even looking at contested catches. I don't even know what a football looks like. What do I know? Jesus? I thought it was.
It's Jackson. Yeah. Oh, that's a word play. Yeah.
Still going late first. No way. I don't know. I really don't know.
So, Genji, bear with me for just a second. Stroud, Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and right now the community is Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison. So now we're past the midpoint. We're at 106. So then, probably Jackson Smith and Jigba. But if Hendon Hooker is drafted highly, if one of these other quarterbacks is drafted highly, all of a sudden maybe you have now he's at 108. If Michael Mayer goes high and you're playing in a league that awards, tight end premium, you could see him going 108, 109. Like I understand that we've been talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba for a long time. He got hurt this year. He didn't play. You saw the other wide receivers at Ohio State be very successful while Jackson Smith and Jigba was not on the field. Like, and this is not saying that he's my 3. I'm not taking him late, but there are going to be drafts where he's going to go 107, 108, 109. Like that's going to happen.
I mean, especially with rookie drafts, right? Especially in an individual rookie draft. I mean, how many of us drafted Justin Jefferson way late, even for the time, because there were so many wide receivers to be hyped for? Yeah. I settled. I had Justin Jefferson a lot, and it's because I had to settle because I couldn't trade up to get CeeDee Lamb. Settled for Justin Jefferson after the 107. Yeah. Rookie drafts are wild, man. Yeah. Because every pick can turn out to be Justin Jefferson or Jalen Reagor. There's and so people take their shots, Jarrett McKinnon was awesome down the stretch run too. You would know with the number of championships you won over 24 hours.
And Daniel Jones.
Yep. Daniel Jones was a big one, yeah. Toronto Dave, football party hat guy. Hey. I've got the 2, the 3, the 4, the 6, the 7, and the 10. Wonder what you've been doing with your trades. And this offseason is going to be fun and stressful. Hopefully. Just, I know I find a lot of my leagues just go dead for weeks. And I'm like, come on, do something. It's like that poking it with a stick meme. We're meant to get excited. But the draft hype will ramp up as we start seeing college profiles emerge and the combine hype. And can't wait. I mean, after disappointing all year, Mike, he was actually performing well. I'm just going to point out, like, this is one of his best performance years ever. Like, his performance stats would have been enough to justify his earlier ADP, which was never justified, by the way. But yeah, his points came up. Got it. With a clear week 17 league winners for managers, gutsy enough to start them. I don't know. You had a pretty good roster if you consider considering Mike Evans. But then again, to get to the finals, you probably had a pretty good roster. That's a fair point. I got nuked by the stack. Oh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry.
I mean, Evans went from wide receiver 23 to wide receiver 11 after the last week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good week, but he was doing pretty well before.
Oh, yeah, he was good. But that last week was pretty nice. I mean, 3 touchdowns and all the yards in the world is a pretty solid week.
Yeah, 48 points will do that, 28% target share, but anyway. He had like 31% target share in week 7, 26 in week 8. Like,
yes, but target share doesn't score your points, Peter. Points score your points.
I don't understand what you're talking about. He got 18 points both those weeks. Brian Ricks, how you doing? Did I answer the first one? Did I do that thing where I move on?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Local liability, 10-team PPR. I'm going to try and move on from Debo. I've added him in a few places, actually, but it's a fair move. What value trade should I be looking for? I think he's going to be ranked, keep trade cutted in a range with those CeeDee Lamb and Ross St. Brown players I'm looking at. And I've been keeping him off because injuries bug the hell out of me, and that's Debo's thing. Injuries are what scares me on him. But that's the kind of tier I would trade him in. And I'll be fine trading him in that tier. Lower than that tier, and I have seen him ranked a lot lower than that. I add Debo for lower than that.
Yeah.
Seem fair to you?
Yeah.
Like
that.
Imagine he's on Ross St. Brown or CeeDee Lamb, and that's what you trade him for.
Yeah.
And like 2 first-round picks plus in some fashion. If you can get Olave, if you can get Wilson, if you can get London, these are all good ads for Debo.
Yep.
Pickens plus, Burks plus, kind of thing.
I would rather have Debo than London. I would. I mean,
okay.
I know that's my kind of line of demarcation.
All right.
I trust Debo to score when he's healthy more than I trust London to be a Debo level producer. But
that's fine. Brian Ricks, 10-team 1 QB, trade the 104 and JMO for AJ Brown? Yes. I think I'd do that. Yes. In fact, I know I would do that.
Yeah.
London
and I'd rather do that one than the London and the 110.
Same. 1 QB, trade Pickens on the 110 for Tyreek Hill. Yeah, definitely.
Especially if you're
Might try Diggs. I don't know. I mean, same, but I prefer to keep Diggs if I'm choosing between the two. But
you
can do either. Both are good.
Yes.
And he's actually asking, would you rather add Tyreek? I'd probably rather add Tyreek. Well, part of that's just personal preference, but also Diggs is more likely to have multiple 20-point games, in my opinion. Tyreek Hill's a little more likely to have a 40-point game, but there you go. I think I just keep Diggs. Ken Walker for the 101. I think they should get rejected.
Are you trading Ken Walker for the 101? Do it. If you've got the 101 and somebody's offering you Ken Walker, don't do that.
And Kamara, someone I'll be trading for later in the season. Henry and Pierce are strong tradeaways constantly. Kamara, I don't think you get. It's Henry and Would you get the same thing for Henry and Kamara? I think you get
Yes.
less for Kamara, right?
I think they're pretty similar.
Okay.
Like, I think at this point, if you're getting a first for either of them, you're better than the average.
Yeah, if you can get a first, you trade them.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to keep Kamara if it's at all coming in a package. I'd probably just keep Kamara, but I mean that's the value range for him. And as far as Ken Walker for a first, like accept that if you ever get that offer, you want if you get
for the 101, yeah,
for the 101.
absolutely.
10 team 1 QB start 9. By the way, sorry for spam. You good, Brian? Keep it coming, man. We're gonna have something to talk about. And those are the trades he was talking about.
Yep.
We kind of assume those are default, if not stated. I think PPR, normally we assume Superflex, actually. But Carls, what's the most you pay to move from the 104 to the 102? It's an interesting...
$11.
Interesting going to get to 102. The 4 to the 2, I'm easily adding another first-round pick if we're talking about a Superflex league. Like the 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, any of those I'd add to move those 2 spots. I don't think that's not the desperate move I'm trying to make. Like, unless you really want the quarterback kind of a thing. And
right.
I don't know yet, but they're meant to be pretty good prospects. So I think that's solid. Brought my team from last place to the final. Good job, Jackson. Lost by 3. Oh, sorry. I should have read ahead. With Higgins left. This has been rough. I have the 102 and a 1 quarterback. Do you lean towards selecting the running back for immediate points when you're a contending team? My team is young. I don't consider my roster when making rookie picks. Like, I try to keep it out of my mind. If I'm making the pick, my roster doesn't matter. I'm drafting the player I think is going to score more fantasy points, more likely to score more fantasy points. It's that simple.
Yeah.
The little asterisk is Superflex, but
yeah. And as a general rule, Jackson, I break ties in my rookie rankings to running backs because of exactly what you just said. They tend to hit sooner. But
yes,
in this rookie class right now, it is not a tie. To me, it's Bijan Robinson, and then it is 2 wide receivers, and then it's Jahmyr Gibbs. So it would be your poison between Jordan Addison and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Right now, it may change with the draft. Like if Jackson Smith and Jigba isn't taken till the 5th round or 4th round, then it's not him. You know, so we got to have a little bit of flexibility. There's still a lot more information to come, but right now, like, no, I'm not necessarily leaning toward a worse running back if I can get a better receiver. And that's not a knock on Jahmyr Gibbs. He's fantastic, but
I really wouldn't. JSN is about the only profile I've looked at because I was looking at it for other reasons last year, and like I could find no flaws. Like I don't. This Jordan guy better be kick ass because I mean I didn't see a profile as good in this year's class as JSN looked last year. And I don't care if he didn't play this year, like already. Yeah. So Jordan's probably pretty good.
So
JSN, I'm really interested.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, his freshman year was 10 for 49 and a touchdown. Jordan Addison, his freshman year was 6 for 660 and 4 touchdowns. And I know that you do the based on the team percentage and that sort of thing. I don't have that information right here. Jackson Smith and Jigba was 95 for 1,609 his second year. Jordan Addison was 100, 15, 93, and 17 his second year. So like they're similar profiles in terms of what they have done and when they did it. So I think you're going to find that you're going to be really excited about this class, Peter, once you start digging in.
Maybe I just take ADP. It's a lot of work. That's never going to open up in time. Okay, I'm going to move on. But thanks, Jackson. Addison, Mr. Scampers. Exactly.
See, he knows.
Would you accept the 111 Wandell and the 201 for... No.
No. St. Brown is... St. Brown.
No. Tyler, the fantasy creator. I heard Peter was looking for people on Crossroads. I might be interested. Cool, hit me up. Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, I haven't interviewed anyone this week. I think I'm gonna have to do a solo show for myself on Sunday, but I do need to line up some more interviews.
Just yell, Peter. I'm around anytime.
So, Jesse Fresh. Keep on raw. Yeah, for sure. Jesse's. Is that Jassy or Jesse? Sorry, I can't read. Jassy. Sorry. Apologize. I can't read anyone's name right. TaylorMade. It's my issue, not your names, obviously. TaylorMade. I think 10 teams start 2 QB PPR. Traded the 101 Lance and a second for Lamar and Godwin. Yeah, I like it. QBs are now Lamar, Herbert. That just sounds better, doesn't it? And Pickett. Yeah, sure, Pickett. Just done with the Lance situation. Yeah, I think, like I was saying before, like if I can't ride out trying to get that top 5 value out of Lance, yeah, I kind of am as well. If I can trade him away at my team at all, yeah, I'm with you. Like Purdy was fine, but the only time we've seen him play it is that small stretch down his rookie season, and he was pretty good. The kid can really run. The team paid a high iron price for him. But I'm with you, TaylorMade. I'm kind of like, I was never in to start with, so
I don't mind this trade. I giving up the 101 just pains me.
It does, yeah.
And I like, as much as like I would want to go get one of the really like elite quarterbacks. Not that Lamar is not elite, but if I could get, I feel like the 101 plus Lance gets you up into the conversation with Allen, Mahomes, that sort of thing.
I was going to say Lamar is an elite quarterback, but there's a difference between him and Mahomes. And Allen,
yeah, and that's what I mean. Like the difference makers. So
this is he knows what he's doing. It's a purely get out of the up and down risk, and so you know what you're doing. You're giving up the upside, but you got Lamar. Yeah, you're pretty happy.
Yeah.
Sean, 12 teams through flex. All the top QB injuries really hurt my 2-stud quarterback team this year. Feels, man. Same. Still won 3 of 16. Well, good job.
Yeah, I mean that's
seriously, Sean, nicely done. But those were stacked everywhere else. My thoughts are, I mean, if you're stacked everywhere, you're immune. No, I think you did a really good job. And I did have some fear with this. When you make stack quarterback teams, this happened to me once with Andrew Luck. Like it can happen, but most of the time, like Lamar's going to be back and good. So, Kyler, despite the short narrative, is going to be fine, and that's what I like about it. Even when it goes wrong, you're getting back like a top 5 dynasty asset when they're healthy, because they play for 15 goddamn years and they're great. So, like. I don't know what other thoughts to add there. Off from the fact I'm really glad it didn't hurt you too bad. Can't wait for next week. You guys rock. Well, appreciate that. This week
appreciate you, too. Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. And got JJ at the 110. Oh,
yeah, yes. Like I have
again rookie
draft. I have 80% Justin Jefferson. Right now,
I had like an astonishing for a guy who made that Jalen Reagor mistake in the same tier. I had a lot of Justin Jefferson percentage wise after that rookie season, and it was just because there were so many my guys in that class.
Peter, you froze.
And I tried to get up to CD. Honestly, that's what I was trying to. You know what?
Yeah. Oh, you're back now, but you're are you downloading sheets? What are you doing?
I'm looking up college statistics.
Yeah. See?
Yeah. Same thing. Because I have them.
Yeah, but Genji, like that's it. Like there is going to be somebody at 107 that is really good, which is why a couple weeks ago, if you were here, you heard me say that 107 is a pick that I'm targeting because I think it's going to be undervalued in Superflex leagues, and there's going to be either Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, or one of the 2 quarterbacks. Like literally by definition, like one of those 7 players has to be there at the 107, and you're going to get a deal. So I agree with you. Like JSN is not a player that should fall that far, but he's a player who could fall that far.
JSN broke out with a 30% dominator at age 19. Jordan Anderson did it at 18, actually. He had a 25% dominator at age 18, a 36% dominator at age 19. I don't have the 23 stats yet, so that's the only 2 years I have. 23 and 33% of yards the first 2 seasons. Yeah, he actually does look better just scanning through it.
And it's not by much on tape. Like they're half a point out of 100. So
nice.
Yeah.
Is JSN going to the 107 lane? It's just the situation.
Yeah, and I just said that. It may be, but
let's hope so. Let's hope so. Every time we see someone not liking JSN, retweet it. That's my plan. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy sucks. Bijan Robinson is the 101 in Dynasty startups.
Don't think he is.
Well, definitely not in Superflex. I
don't think he is in startups because I think we're at the pendulum.
Jefferson.
We're at the pendulum. We've been hurt by running backs, Peter. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor was drafted 101 and failed spectacularly, although it's not necessarily his fault, but that's what happened. And so when that happens, the Dynasty community pulls back. I mean, we did this with Gurley when Gurley got hurt and everyone was like, oh, I can't do running backs. And then all of a sudden, all of the, the good running backs came back and everyone was like, now you have to draft running backs early. And now we're back in the like, oh no, we drafted running backs early and we got hurt by that. So now I don't think Bijan Robinson is the 101. I think you're still seeing Mahomes and Allen at the top. I still think you're seeing Justin Jefferson. I still think you're seeing Jamar Chase. And then you start having a conversation about whether or not it's Bijan Robinson or if it's Burrow and Herbert and Lamar Jackson and that sort of. I think there's just going to be a little bit of hesitation
by the end of the season, mate. I'll go as far to say he's going to be a first-round pick. There's going to be like 3 running backs that still hold that top 2 round value, probably because of what Zach's talking about. And Bijan Robinson's going to be one of them.
Yep.
But the 101, I don't think he goes above Chase or Jefferson. I know, close. I hope he isn't the wide receiver 1. We're usually wrong on it.
Oh, again, speak for yourself.
Don't looking at ADP, and I did this in my draft pick video. ADP ranks the wide receiver 1 inaccurately much more often. But remember, that's not predictive. It's not like you're ranked 1 and that number somehow magically makes them bad. Jamar Chase was wide receiver 1. Yeah. It just shows the variance in how accurate we are. Because some of those wide receiver 1s that weren't the wide receiver 1s were still pretty good. Yeah. They just weren't Chase and they weren't Cooper Kupp in 2017 is probably the wide receiver 1 from that class by now, but you've also got Godwin in the second round. But you still had some good wide receivers go earlier than that. They just weren't that good. It's a really interesting point. There's a lot of variance in how we rank. But that's also how we get Jefferson Lakes. People want to go up and get their guy because they know that variance exists, maybe.
Right.
Anthony, 12-team Superflex, tight end premium, start 10. Have Hurts, Dak, Barkley, Chubb, Kamara, Debo, Devontae, Judy, Smith. There's a lot of players I'll be actively trying to sell here, but they're all good players, so don't let me stop you. The 107, the 207, 111, 307. Should I focus on wide receivers in the draft or make trades? You should try both. In the draft, if you're going to make a pick, your roster doesn't matter. Again, draft the best player.
Yeah.
Just I'll be unmoved on that, except for there's a little super flex. Maybe just take the quarterback sometimes, but mostly draft the best player. For your roster, what I'm seeing is like Chubb, maybe Kamara, Debo, Judy, Sutton, Njoku. No, Njoku's fine, and maybe Njoku. I'm trying to package them, tier up, get more draft capital because I think I'm at or below consensus on them by and large. And wide receiver is often the path to trying to do that, like that list of mid wide receivers we're interested in trading for, maybe adding a second. or you can tier up in the same way we've been talking about the whole stream. But yeah, you don't have to go any particular direction, but those are the type of moves I'd be trying to look for. Like, I identify what on my roster I think I'm at or below consensus on, and then try to fairly add them together to go up or go across or add value in some way.
Yeah, and I don't mind having, like I just said, the 107 I think in Superflex is the magic
solid
number. Like that's a really nice pick because I think you're going to get a player that I am very excited about, regardless of who falls there.
I mean, that is, by the sound of it, around about where JSN might be. So
yeah, I mean, it could be JSN, it could be Quentin Johnson. It could. There's some players in this draft.
Let's go. Peanut butter and waivers. Nice. Thoughts on Quentin Johnson, wide receiver, TCU?
Yeah,
I'm tempted to pull it up, but my stream nearly crashed when I did. I don't.
You're probably not going to love him. Like he had the third year kind of. Right. He might have quasi broken out. I don't have the TCU
Did he
numbers.
play earlier, or is it?
Yeah. So like his freshman year, he had 22 catches for 487 yards and 2 touchdowns. His sophomore year, he had 33 catches for 634 and 6 touchdowns. To me, he's 6'4", 193 pounds. So he's a tall player, traditional X type receiver. He's got 3 distinct moves off press, which is something I look for with guys who are playing outside. The NFL presses a little more often than most college teams. He's got a jab move, a nice hesitation move, and hand fighting like swipe chop. He does a good job creating space, both versus man over the top and by sitting underneath zones and throwing lanes. I think he can get over the top with speed. And he also uses a really quick transition to a runner on bubble screen. So like he's got the ability to catch the ball short. Don't think too much about N'Keal Harry, but that was a similar thing that N'Keal Harry did. I do think Quentin Johnston is better over the top than N'Keal Harry. Like I think he creates separation, and not just vertical separation, but like horizontal separation on the field. So you can like throw the ball over the top with him getting open. He's got the height and hands. He can separate vertically, make high point plays, but he's not reliant on that. I do think on the downside, I did not see one single back shoulder throw on the sideline in all the tape that I watched on him, which is really strange for an X receiver. That's something that you see players like T. Higgins and Mike Williams and that big X type receiver do a lot in the NFL. That's a pretty typical throw. George Pickens made a bunch of those this year. Pop passes and jet sweeps were ineffective. So like he's really good downhill, but he's not great at going laterally and then getting downhill. I don't know that he's going to see volume in the NFL. So he's like that downfield guy. And so that makes him reliant on big plays, but he's really good at big plays. So maybe that's okay. And there were a couple times when ball security post-catch was an issue where he would make a catch, he would start running, he would get the ball out in one hand, and somebody would be able to make a play punching it out. And in the NFL, that is going to be an issue because defenses are taught to do that. So, like, I really like Quentin Johnston. He's my wide receiver 3 right now. But there are some things that I don't love about him as well.
It's Texas Christian, right? So it was the same school as Jalen Rager. I hate him. No, not really. And Josh Dotson. I suspect there are some adjustments to be made. About 11% of wide receivers drafted in the first 3 rounds have come from there, though. That's a pretty good drafted rate. I can add that. I actually have some Quentin Johnson stats already in the database. I had him scheduled for a 23 pick, and that's the one I opened up instead of my live one, so my stream didn't crash. I don't have 23 stats yet. I can tell you he had, it's pretty good. He broke out to a 20% dominator rating as a rookie and 18-year-old and 26% at 19. I mean, his percentage stats look half decent.
Yeah.
He looks a lot like Doxson and Rager, both of whom were busts, actually.
But I think he's
awkward.
like he doesn't play like either of them. Which to me, like again, the film and the metrics tell different parts of the story. To me, he is a lot more versatile. You're not having to. So Rager, the thing was you had to get him open. Like you had to do things within the framework of your offense to get Rager open. I don't think you have to do that with Quentin Johnston. I think you can say, "Hey, run a 9 route, go deep, and he'll get open." So,
I mean, I hadn't finished my story. I'm just going to say, but it's interesting you say that though, because I was taking largely negative things away from what you were saying because I don't listen right. To continue my story, like he's double the yards per team attempt of both Rager and Dotson. Yeah. He looks like a similar market share guy, yet performing at a higher level relative to the overall team volume, which would be more positive. And both, well, Dotson really didn't, but Rager profiled really well in terms of his production. So I think ballpark, yeah, he's going to look like a pretty good wide receiver through at least the older process I was using before I try and incorporate this PFS stuff. So yeah, solid is the best I can do. It's like letter grades because I can't do the advanced grades yet. Solid, B. Whatever. In a single quarterback startup, Bajon isn't a bad 101.
No, single quarterback, I still want the 2 wide receivers over him, but that's how I build.
You want the quarterbacks in a 1 QB?
No, the 2 wide receivers.
Oh, Chase and Jefferson. You mean?
Yeah.
Startup. My brain skipped a beat there. Yeah. I'm not.
But again, that's how I build, and so like Genji and peanut butter, like what it like. I understand, and I would not argue with you about taking Bijan 1. It's just how I build is usually through young, proven wide receivers, and then I'll get my running backs later.
Yeah, I have to date my ranks again because they're mad at me about my Dotson ranking, so I got to try and find the courage to.
You're gonna drop him down lower. Do it.
I was thinking about it. I'll be like, no, I'm going all in here, but I can't even find it quickly. Oh wait, there it is. Isn't that it? I was trying to see, like, my brain's skipping about all over the place as usual, but Jefferson and Chase for sure. Single quarterback, so we'll get rid of the quarterbacks here. Waddle, AJ Brown, CD Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah,
I'm probably taking Bijan over those guys, but
I was going to say it's probably in there. I mean, maybe not Waddle, maybe not AJ Brown or CD Lamb, but yeah, like what is that? Pick 5.
Yeah. Saying I'd probably take him at 103, but I'm splitting hairs there.
I mean, I just like wide receivers more than you. It's just peanut butter and waivers. I'm not shying away from Bajon either way. No, I think that's. I mean, I literally haven't looked at the class, and I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, that's as strong as I can say it. It's probably a sell in Superflex, though. Like I said, the little asterisk is always there. Everyone seems real convinced that no, though. But we'll have to see how the draft goes. Hey, Jassy, pick up John Michie 3 on waivers. Hey, there's a name I haven't heard of since off season. I did think about him the other day too. He's someone Travis May pointed out as a solid player that people just were ignoring, and that was a fair comment. He could be ready for training camp. I know he had an injury issue, but isn't he the one
he had cancer?
Leukemia? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear he's hearing better. And yeah, his value's definitely going to rise if he gets on the field. So it's a really solid idea. Good point. I like him better than a lot of these 23 prospects. I mean, there'll be a lot. It depends. I wouldn't put him near the first round. I wouldn't put him near the second round in this year's class. So
no, but that's I wouldn't either, but that's a great pickup off waivers.
Oh, yeah. I can completely concede that point to start with. How do you feel about? I can't exactly. I know he was like a 3rd round pick for me this year's class. 3rd round pick is fine for him this year as well. More of a waiver pickup, like you say, he's on waivers, so that's probably the best way to get him. Jazzy. Sorry, she's correcting how I say it. I apologize. I'm just. Was that the right thing to say? The value is going to come up if he gets healthy and gets on the field, just because he'll be a prospect and that guy everyone forgets, and there'll be a few hit pieces. So yeah, third round pick value is actually really good for that type of upside. Even if he doesn't actually manage to do much, I think there'll be a value bump at some point. There'll be a workout video of the running back position, maybe.
Right.
Kind of a no. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think so. He's like the discount bin Jameson Williams.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know that. That was a better way of saying it. So Kamara traded for Tony in a league today.
Woof. I want Kamara. I don't.
Yeah. Tony's had a really unique career, and he's clearly a really unique player. Kind of like the variance in that, but Kamara. He's pretty dang good. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. Tailor-made 10-team start 2 quarterback PPR. Traded the 101 Lance and a second for Lamar and Godwin. Quarterbacks are Herbert, Lamar, Pickett. Done with. I feel like I've been here before, Taylor. Yep. Sorry, I didn't realize I was reading the same thing again. But yeah, solid. And again, just solid. Like you're giving up some upside, but to state your intention, I think you got it.
Kamara's value is dead.
Oh, for
sure. Well, you see that Kamara's dead. Kamara's value is dead.
And you're exactly right. Like you're not getting that value back. And that's why I was kind of pausing on Tony. Like there's so much more ways for him to increase in value. But I don't believe the long-term outlook for Tony is what his ceiling, quote unquote, could be for some. But if you're seeking value upside, I get it. Yeah. But Kamara, he will be easier to trade next season when he's scoring points again. Yeah, it's back and forth, but I see what you're doing. I don't hate it. Zach does, but he's a hateful person. Trey Lance to Miami. Do you think they'll trade him? They would need so much to justify that.
I mean, right? they could. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility to do who was it? Josh Rosen. In Arizona where they drafted Kyler and traded if they think Brock Purdy is that guy, you've got Brock Purdy on a better contract than what you've got Trey Lance on. If you could trade Lance and get the first plus, but I don't think Miami's doing that.
I tell you what, after the Rosen thing, I read Josh Hermsmeyer, pretty cool guy. And he was saying basically if he was a GM, he would always take a first-round quarterback because maybe you grab a Josh Purdy or maybe it's Trey Lance, and then you can always trade him away for a second because quarterbacks are fairly short supply, and you get to try him out in the meantime. I don't know if teams are ever going to go that way, but yeah, it's an interesting idea. Quarterbacks are so. It's like what we say about running backs in fantasy. The roster value or the positional value, because there's so few that aren't even just okay. It seems. Although then the Geno Smith lesson this year. Maybe there are. New to the page, by the way. Really appreciate it, Peanut.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
Welcome to the non-point scoring season.
Yeah, you're welcome back. He's been active. He's had some of the most interesting thoughts and comments. I really appreciate it, man. Tailor-made Dotson for next year. Keep or at his value, I'm trading. Yeah. If you can get his value. Like, he's in that tier I was talking about. Like, you can get Ayuk for him, according to Keep Trade Cut. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. So, yeah. Sorry, did I jump all over you?
No, I absolutely agree. Like, I think a lot of the dots and stuff has been touchdowns. So,
yeah.
Joe.
Wait, he was getting... I want to respect what he did. 20% target share down the stretch. It was a lot of touchdowns, but he did. I think his yards per run was fine. But yeah, I'm skeptical on that. But good for him. Hey Joe, just got home. Any updates on the Bills-Bengals game? We've heard nothing. Most of my commissioners are defaulting to it's a really unique situation. I don't think there's a fair way of doing it. And being who I am, if my commissioner felt I was just whatever they think is best. So
Have you seen? So there's a guy whose Twitter handle is at Nathan Braun, and it's Braun, and he did a championship pot split calculator, and it calculates based on who teams or what teams scored, who teams have left, and their chance of winning, and then splits the pot basically even based on the chances of winning. Which I thought was really interesting, and neither here nor there. You don't have to use it, but it's something to kind of take a peek at. And if you're a commissioner and you think that that's something that it's a reasonably fair way to split it. So I don't know.
I would say as far as what's going to happen, I do not believe that game gets rescheduled and played. No, there are going to be no more stats to use to finalize the results. We're there. Right. So it's going to have to be a commissioner's decision doing something like that, or just calling it where it is. Or I've seen like people that were in the final deciding between themselves, like this guy won, but I'm going to split the pot with you. There's going to be no clean answer. Did this guy watch the semifinals? Loads of laughs.
No. I think he's talking about Quentin Johnston. But
right, okay.
But again, like one jet sweep doesn't mean that he's successful on all jets. So like that's the thing is when I watch it's 12, 14 games and I chart them and go. So if he does one thing, it just is one thing. If he does it multiple times, that shows me who he is. But anyway, sorry.
He's basically a stats nerd. He just won a minute.
Who, me? Yeah, absolutely.
Marvin Cano.
Where do you think your stats come from, Peter? Your stats come from the tape.
The ones that aren't scared to count. Marvin Cano. Daniel Jones on the 103. Interesting question. I think it was 103. Like, then the team seems to love him. And to be fair, good job, Daniel. Seriously. But the 103 for me. Like, I don't believe. Yeah. I never believe. 224 first or the 103? That's a good question. Like,
I'd probably take the 103.
It's a 103 right now. I like the idea of shifting some value into the 24 class and a later third if you're really building. Or 25, even better. You probably get headed.
That's the 24 class has got some. It's a little lighter than this. It's got some quarterbacks coming, but the 25 class is another one of those like running back classes, which will be fun.
Okay. That's good enough. Pete, Zach, I have the 101. Kyler, Lance, Traylon, the 112, the 201. I want Mahomes or Allen or Burrow. What would you do? Sorry, Joe, I don't know why I read it that way. I was just trying to add some dynamism to our Dynasty stream. Lance on the 112.
Yeah. But I don't know if that gets it done. I think you're gonna have to go. Man, I think you're gonna have to give up the 101 to get one of those players. I do.
Do you add Lance to that, or did you just try it straight up?
I'm gonna try it straight up, but I'm not averse to trading Lance with the 101 to get there. Like I'm really not.
Step one and step two, right?
But yeah,
offer the 101 if they take it, great. If not.
You probably could get so if you had
I was
gonna say you probably could go 101 Lance and get
in 25.
Yeah,
just to get you excited about it. 25 seconds,
but
or a jet sweep. Thank you, Andrew. I'm enjoying you and Zach arguing about the tape because I just get to sit here and watch butterflies fly around in my head while you do. Joe, no, the 110 actually. Oh, sorry. Would you rather? I don't think the 110's enough, and Lance is too much. So you want a plus. You see where I'm going, but I think you add something to that 101 pick to get it done, but offering the 101 straight up is a decent first offer.
I mean, even if you go the 101 and 110 and you keep Lance and then hope that Lance becomes something, like I don't mind that either. I think probably Lance getting a shot at quarterback is worth more than the 110.
That's what I mean. Like
But you're
101,
hoping
try the 110, and then if they reject that, move up to 101 on the step 3. Yeah.
Ugh.
Thank you, man. Trade the 101 for either 3 loads or less.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Again, if it doesn't get it done, you can add, but it's awkward. I am a lion. Trade the 102, Jonathan Taylor, and Tyler Algier for Joe Burrow. Is this a good move if I have a good roster just missing the second quarterback? We're not missing anything. I'm not going to go down that road.
It's probably a little hot. It's probably a little heavy.
In a super flex, I'm assuming. Yes, but I don't mind overpaying for that. And it's not
I don't hate it, but it's probably a little heavy.
Yeah. Heck yeah, that's good. See, Joe knows. I would do that for Joe Burrow. I get it. I get things.
Yeah, it's got to be
one with
Superflex.
the youth.
Got to be Superflex. You're one with it. I'm hip. I'm with
Sanchez. Yeah, Joe's.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Bots are hard to chat with. After high. Do we have bot? I'm not even going to ask. I'm the line. Yes, Superflex. Even if it's an overpay, I'm comfortable. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. Like I'm supporting you. It's Zach that's hating on.
I think it's a little bit of an overpay, but I don't have. Look, again, I'm not gonna. I'm okay.
I like to straw man Zach.
I love it when you do. I'm definitely. As soon as we get off the stream, I'm definitely pulling up the show like 3 or 4 weeks ago when you and Russ were like, Olave.
Do it. I need something to fall asleep to. I think it is a little bit, but yeah, it's an overpay by volume, but that's fine. There's so many things in there worth something. Local liability. My previous question about trading away Debo in a 10-point PPR. What if running back was a need of mine? Good question. It kind of always is for me, to be fair, so I can sympathize. What value trade should I look to move Debo for in running back? All mine got injured. I have 3 firsts. You're not trying to trade draft capital for running back. The running backs I'm targeting first is Breece Hall. See if add a second to Debo to get Breece. I think that someone should be excited about that. Yeah. But again, in your league, maybe not. So I don't want to give one answer. I think Debo's the first one. Breece is the first one I try.
Najee Harris, Swift, yeah.
Swift and Javonte Williams, but there's a significant value drop. I actually think Najee Harris is a better second option. Najee Harris is a really good one to go and try and get as well. Any others come to mind?
You could probably get Reminder Stevenson plus.
See, I'm trying to think of ones you don't have, like, you can trade for any running back if you get the right pluses on either. You know what I mean? Right. So straight up, as close to as I can come to straight up, I think Najee Harris, Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, I think there are pluses and minuses of either way you go.
But again, like you said, all your running backs got injured.
Well, they'll be healthy again.
I'm going to assume they're coming back. Yeah. So
again, you remember the value of the offseason is you don't have to start a roster. And while these are still concerns of yours, and they rightly should be, a running back need improvement, that's fine. We should try and do that. But you don't need to start a roster for 3 months or so. So, like, they have time to get healthy. Not that's, again, I'm not taking away from your goal here. It's a good goal. But don't keep it in mind. It's not like you need to do it next week. If you can't get a good trade, can't get the right value, there will be good opportunities.
And if you got 3 first, you're probably leaving the first round with a running back or two. And this is a pretty running back heavy class. Like, there's some really good backs in this class. I'm excited about it. There are 4 really good wide receivers, and it's a better running back class than it is a receiver class.
And again, local, the closer we get to the season, the more those running back opportunities for me, because there's less concern about what's going to happen in the draft, who is getting healthy, who did get a draft running back added to their roster. Those questions kind of get answered. And so the closer we get to the season, the closer I'm like, let's go try and get Christian McCaffrey again. He's old. He was injured. Saquon Barkley. But right now, there are still all those questions, and you don't have to start them next week. Their value is where probably just fine. So, like, I think there are more opportunities for those older guys later as well. So, yeah, that's all I'm saying. I am the lion. Ha! Thanks, fellas. I don't know why I try to read things fun. I felt like it was a good deal. We're with you, man. We're with you. We'll support you. You can come back and shout at me if it doesn't work out. It's Joe Burrow. It's not like not working out is I ended up with nothing. You have a pretty fun and good quarterback. So, TaylorMade. I heard a league simulated a game on Madden. That's an interesting way to go between Bills and Bengals, and took those stats for the fantasy score of the championship. That's an interesting way. If everyone agrees, it's good.
So, like, I tweeted that out, and then this was before this past weekend, where someone was like, you know, how do you account for the negatives in fantasy football where you're dehumanizing players and da 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 da? I said, really, what we need to do is start a site.
I think you said it last stream. You were like, just simulate the season.
Yeah, and simulate a season and host right on that and just do it that way, because you're getting the same competitive juices and all that we get without having to have
and you've got Madden right there. I think
you can turn,
as I said last time,
go.
I would love that because I like football and I like the opportunities these players get through it. But yeah, it's a concern of mine. I actually worry about my own involvement in it sometimes. There's questions. And to be honest, the thing that we do, I mean, we could simulate it on dust particles. We could base it, and it's still we could still be having the same fun. I think the problem with it is we like these players. We're rooting for them, and fantasy is really an extension of fanship. Like, we want to be fans. We want to be more involved. I'm not going to get on the field because I'll die. I'm not going to be a coach because it's a fairly rare job and really hard to do. So we invent something to get more involved in the game, and simulating the game, I don't think is ever going to replace that for some of us. It's harder to be a fan of the pixelated man. You know what I mean? Instead of the man he represents. But I do like a lot of that idea. Jazzy. If Mitchie gets paired with a Bryce Young, I don't know much about him, but he's meant to be a solid quarterback from this class, as I understand it. Would you give him a bump up? It's a good question. Waddle, Tua, Chase, Burrow. He's not a wide receiver one, but I doubt grab a wide receiver this draft. I doubt I grab JMO Mitchie will be viewed as the 2023 draftees for me. Yeah, I appreciate the thought. Like, if he gets, he will get healthy. Let's believe it. And his opportunity comes up. There's definitely more. Yeah, I really like the move. But to go back to the original question, I don't want to discount the fact that getting Aaron Rodgers or Mahomes or Allen is better than getting anyone else, really. But I think wide receivers are more capable of making the situation good.
And the nice thing for Mechie is, yes, Houston should have a top 2 pick. Right now they've got the first pick. So that's good because you're adding a quarterback. The other positive for Mechie coming back into this situation in Houston is their wide receiving core is really thin, which means that he has a chance to get a shot. And I think he is talented. And Peter, you've talked about this forever. Talented wide receivers drive targets. And so there is a chance that Mechie sees the field as a second-year wide receiver on this comeback trail, and you end up with a win. And at the very least, you picked him up off waivers, so it's house money. So
I think what I'm trying to say is you're already ahead. I wouldn't move them up if you got a quarterback. I think you already have, because you could realize there are many positive things that can happen to make other people realize it, and then they catch up with you, and then I'd be interested in trading. And that's the route I'm trying to go. Like, when they realize that it's suddenly more positive, whether it's a quarterback or he's on the field again and starting in as a wide receiver 2 for someone. Like, and then when everyone catches up, I think you've made a potential to trade him when you just added him off waivers. Like, I think that's why I really like the move. My wide receiver room is Jefferson, Waddle, Lamb, Wilson, Pickens, awesome. Tony. So, you don't need advice on how to get wide receivers. So shut up. But those are
Jesse, thoughts. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 4 of the top 10 wide receivers. That's a tremendous wide receiver room.
And we were just trying to convince people Waddle and Lamb were good this offseason. So, and Zach was on the Wilson train, and we're both on the Zach was on the Pickens train.
Look at this: Jefferson, Waddle. Look, these are our people, Peter. This
the
is
upside
great.
for Tony. This back half are not our people. And Tony, Claypool,
Jameson Williams.
It's nice. We've got both. You're like, I'm just going to play both. Yeah, I like it. Sean Payton to the Bears.
It will be interesting.
So many Sean Payton rumors.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what the Bears do with their first pick, because right now it's the 102 and they don't need a quarterback. And so it's trade back for a haul and see if you can like rework. So I'm really curious as to what happens with the Bears.
The Bears.
Too bad they don't have their second.
They feel like a draft for need team. They'll be like, we don't need a quarterback. I will just take this kicker. But, again, always pessimistic. Fields QB1 in redraft if that occurs. I think Fields is already a top 12 quarterback. In Dynasty, he's probably a top 5.
Yeah.
5, 6, along with Lance. Not Lance. Lawrence. Good for them. And they had a really good season. Difficult situation. TaylorMade, I tried trading the 101 and Lance for one of the top quarterbacks, and only one to bite was the Lamar owner. Yeah, again, you're fretting over a trade. I think and you feel free to fret away. It's literally all I do, fret about my dynasty teams. But you're good. Like, Lamar is not a disappointment. It's like what we were saying about Burrow. Even if it's a little much, you got Lamar. Like, you've got a really nice floor, I think we'll call it. Like, you're all right. I see that. That'll lower than I thought. That's lower than I thought. Thanks, guys. We're generally pessimistic, folk. Life is not treated as well. No, sorry. Jeremy Pullman, a new person again, I think. I don't think we've spoken to Jeremy before. 12 teams who flex tight end premium. Start 3 wide receivers. Trade Christian Watson for a 24 first. It's a little low, but I'm into trading Christian Watson. He also has Chase, Waddle, Wilson, Burks, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Have to admit he did more than I thought he would this year, impressively so. But I like that Gallup depth though. Like I still like my guy.
I would rather, instead of trading Christian Watson for 24 first,
I was gonna say
I would rather look for that upside. So look for that Ayuk, the Deontay Johnson, those type of players. Peter, I'll let you say Marquise Brown, but like that group where they could conceivably, if things don't break quite right for Garrett Wilson to start the year, I've already seen the Jets say we're sticking with Zach Wilson come hell or high water.
Oh God,
gentlemen, you're already in hell. High water will follow soon. But like, I don't mind doing that, or trading Christian Watson for, I mean, if you're only starting 3 wide receivers, trade him for a running back and see if you can get one of those running backs who can put up some. I still think, I know, Peter, you said trade Tony Pollard away. Tony Pollard is an interesting back because he's been really successful and really efficient, and his contract is up, which means he could end up someplace. Imagine if he ends up in Chicago with Sean Payton. No, I don't know.
It's just no, I agree with that, but I think there's been a lot of truthers on the Tony Pollard train. I think it's the AJ Dillon play, but at a higher price.
Yeah, it might be, but he's a pass catcher as opposed to the opposite.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
So that's what I mean, even Javonte Williams. Like, I think you were pretty close to Christian Watson for Javonte Williams, and that's a win to me.
I would say, since you're asking about a first, but looking at your wide receiver team, I don't think you need. I don't know why I do Bunny Rabbit is. I don't think you need value, but 24 first is not enough, but it's fine. Zach's really interested in the 25 class, and once I hear someone highlighting a class, I'm like, let's get ahead of the game. 25, and go get one of these across wide receivers. We talked about DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Marcus Brown. I think not Zach. He wanted to be very clear on that, but also Brandon Ayuk, who were both unanimous on. Devontae Smith, if his ADP actually reflects his value, every move should have Devontae Smith in it. If that's actually his value in your league,
right?
Then I'm interested in doing that. But if you're more interested in draft capital, moving to those wide receivers, those players, you could just look for future picks. I like that idea, but you have to add, like, he should be worth more than a single first. That's what he already was. And he
trade Watson for Calvin Ridley in a second.
Yeah, sure. In fact, they'd probably consider that stealing from you if they like Christian Watson.
Yeah.
So, all right. Tiger King. Hey, I've heard about your show. I was going to say watch, then I realized that would be a lie. I never got around to it, but I hear good things, man, about the show. Where are you taking Justin Jefferson in a Superflex starter? Sitting at the 106, I'm worried Burrow, Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, Herbert will be off the. They should be
right about there.
That's I have him ranked 6th overall. I take Justin Jefferson at the I take Justin Jefferson at the 5. It's Allen, Mahomes. I've still got Lamar, Hurts, and then Jefferson.
Yeah. So if those quarterbacks are gone, I'm taking Jefferson without even hesitation.
I mean, I didn't even mention Herbert, so I draft him at Herbert and Burrow. I take slightly after. But you could also switch to Chase if they're all gone at the 106. Like, I'd take either wide receiver at that point. But if one of your top 5, like the difference-making tier, which I just named, but you can disagree with, it's your team, are gone, that's when I switch over to Jefferson and Chase. As a rough guide for how I play. You play how you want, obviously. Robert M. Streeter. I tried. 10 team, 1 QB, start 9 point PPR. Week 8, I traded away just JT. Jacob. I don't know why I'm having trouble with J's. Okay?
Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs.
Thank you. And the eventual 201 for Chase and AJ Dillon. I like that trade a lot. You got Chase.
Yeah.
And you got the 106 out of it. Like, yeah, I like that trade. Good job.
Yep.
Man.
That's a win.
If that's what you were looking for, like, I'll give you a pat on the back for that one. Good job. Jazzy, thank you both for your take on Michi. Thanks for the compliment on my seat room. No, seriously, it's a good wide receiver core.
Yeah.
I also had Hill in that room. You're just flexing at this point, but I would too, to be honest. Felt bad for a friend who gave him away low. That's always, I know what you mean. I just see film and go with what I see. Nice. You and Zach will get along just great. And Andrew, probably. But appreciate it. Thanks very much. Are you buying Javonte Williams now or waiting? It's about the trade at this point. I think he's on the list of running backs people might be less sure of. Again, I'm putting him in that Swift tier because that knee injury is serious enough. Not a doctor, but people say that I don't expect him to come back to who he was quick, but I do think he can get healthy, modern medicine, etc. So, I'm putting him in that Swift tier, below those wide receivers. And I think if I can get him for a late first, I know we're talking about how valuable this class is, but a late first, that's right about where you don't have to trade a first, but that kind of value range if that helps quantify it.
She said a team asked for Jameson Williams, and that to me is that's pretty spot. Like I would do that. I would, especially
that's a good value
with the wide receivers you've got. I'd take the chance that Javonte Williams comes back and is Javonte Williams.
I really got to learn to read to the end because that's actually a better example of a trade. Yeah, J-Mo for Javonte Williams is really good actually. Grant Stand. Where would an elite QB redraft in a 16-team no Superflex? Where should an elite QB be drafted in a 16-team no Superflex? Again, I'm going to assume it says redraft here, but I think that's a typo. Assume Dynasty. Where would an elite quarterback go in like really high, like
mid-second?
I've got 5 in a 12-team league. Yeah. Like, I would just keep drafting quarterbacks until ones I thought were going to have a job next year.
But it's not so non-Superflex. 16
Oh,
team
no
non-Superflex.
Superflex.
So
I just
again,
put
like
16.
probably like mid-second is where I'd go with like Allen and Mahomes.
Are the 16 plus 30 players you would take over Mahomes and Allen? A little higher than that for me.
No,
Like
mid-second would be would be 20s, right? 16 team.
17, 18, 20,
So
21,
like
20. Yeah, mid-20s, yeah.
yeah, somewhere around there. Maybe early mid. I don't know.
I was
Something
gonna
like
say I maybe might bump it up, but I don't disagree enough to fight
Yeah.
over it. Yeah, early second, mid second to be firm. That seems fine to me. Hey,
Sweet. Hey, Peter.
yes, sir.
Look over there.